Are we good? Okay. Good morning again. This is our special meeting for May 19th. This is our first round of budget meetings. As we kind of worked out yesterday with Treasurer Eris, we'll wait till the very end of the process to be chatting about any potential cost of living increases. But could change, but could approve operational pieces if we feel good about doing it this time, or we can have folks come back for a second round. So just add that. Didn't want meeting everybody to death. So, and just a note, I'm hoping we can be flexible here. Diana had court at 10. She's not sure how long it would take, but she wanted to be put on maybe after IT, but before lunch because she's got court after lunch. So whenever she gets here, we might just do the attorney's office, if that's okay with everyone.
Fine.
All right. First, we've got Public Works, Road and Bridge. Ken Muller, County Engineer, Mark Reed, County Planner, and Travis Traub, Road and Bridge Superintendent. Good morning, gentlemen.
Three amigos.
Three amigos.
Three students.
Mark, go.
Oh, yeah.
Right behind you.
Yeah. Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mark Reed, County Planner. So I'm just going to speak very briefly on the Public Works budget. Really, the bottom line is we carried forward the current amounts from FY 25-26 in the discretionary or operational land, whatever you can call that. Since we do not have any requests for additional personnel or anything in that category, dealing with personnel or benefits. So yeah, I guess hopefully that's good news.
Yeah.
Not asking for any increases there. We do have two capital item requests, which have been, one was forwarded on to the IT department, and that would be in the general purpose equipment category to provide a conference room system. IT has put together an estimate of $1,690 that we provide on it for computer, et cetera, for getting that room live.
Okay, yeah.
So that again has been forwarded to IT to hopefully include in their budget. The second capital related was the computer equipment. No, I'm sorry. That was just computer equipment over $500. This was general purpose equipment that was forwarded on to Cameron for a file cabinet that is the same type that was originally installed in our offices many years ago. All of ours are full. This is where we put our building permits, building permits, subdivision applications, all the above. It's the hard files, and that was again forwarded on to Cameron. Those items are about $5,100 a piece. So again, that's in Cameron's corner.
Okay.
A couple other items. As you're aware, the city is still negotiating scope of work and contract with Interstate Engineering for the joint planning area update. We are in agreement with the city, are you guys formalizing an agreement to share cost share 1/3 of that total contract. So it looks like we'll be looking between 60 and 70,000 for our share. So if that's something we need to include in our budget, we can do that, or in the commissioner's budget. In the past, in my experience, that's something that's typically been in the commissioner's budget. So wherever you want to plug that in, if you want to plug it in, that's a dollar amount we're looking at. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be fine putting in the commissioner's budget when we get to it.
So,
Okay,
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any questions on your budget, Mark. I mean, it looks like you're down 30-ish thousand from last year just because of those changes. I don't know if folks feel good about, approving, the public works budget minus the benefits and salaries like we did yesterday with.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I just had a question on benefits. I don't think you touched on this yet, but the medical insurance went from 177,000 to 95,000.
you know, I wish I could explain that. That's something that HR, we typically have no influence on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
Yeah.
just curious about, because that's a rather large decrease, maybe.
Yeah, and it may be, it's probably due to status with some employees who've gone from a family situation to a single person. I know our administrative assistant is, you know, she's a single gal. And previously, we had a person that was probably a family, paying a family rate for the insurance, so. I'm guessing that's probably what it is.
I would guess so too, but
Yeah.
it just seemed like a substantial drop.
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think.
Absolutely.
Holly, I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, and just one last item, we were asked to protect our public works revenue, and we're looking at probably a 5% increase. That's for all of the various fees we charge, and we're estimating that at $637,000 revenue.
Okay, great. Holly, where were you looking?
I'm looking,
I'm looking at
see it
medical
either.
insurance
Yeah.
and it's $150,929.
I'm looking at the requested 95. 508,
Madam Chair.
396.
Yeah.
She's in Working Bridge.
And the wrong one?
Yep. We're in
Yeah.
public works.
No wonder. Okay, these numbers not matching up.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would move to accept Public Works budget other than benefits and salaries at this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you so much. I'm headed out, so.
Okay, yeah,
Plenty to catch. I do appreciate your time and consideration.
safe travels.
Yeah, thank you.
Have fun haying.
Oh, yeah.
Been there, done that, plenty.
Let me know
Yeah,
how it goes.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
Now.
now we're there. Yeah.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, you pretty much the similar budget than last year. We did keep fuel the same as last year. Obviously, with the mild winter we had, we didn't spend a lot of fuel this year. Reduce some of that, but who knows what fuel prices are gonna do, you know, they keep going up, but we can't we can't outguess them, so we just left it, and we'll have to do a budget amendment or something and come forward if we get out of that line item. The biggest one was probably increase in contract labor. We got several areas out there that we have too large of trees that the road and bridge crew can't handle. They've done a really good job of handling some of the trees. And they could handle some large trees, and it's kind of dependent on where they're at and what's around them. So, but we've got a handful of trees that we need to remove out of the right of way that they can't handle. So that's what that line item increase is for. You know, and that's why we try not to let these trees grow up. There's been a lot of talk, you know, we tried to clear trees in the past and residents like their trees, and they've convinced the county to leave trees and suffer from that, I think, so. Just a FYI. And then the second item is capital outlay of general purpose equipment. We need to increase that. We need to get our Clearmont shop up with some tools. Shop down there is really lacking in tools, and sometimes we have to run a tool down from our shop here. And so we want to get that tooled up, that shop. So that's the other one. The rest are pretty much standard in line with last fiscal year. Anything you want to add, Travis?
No, you pretty well covered everything I was thinking.
I've got some questions for Travis.
Right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know how much he was looking forward to this, but. Any questions for, yeah, okay,
No, not a question. I was going to go ahead and make a motion to
Yeah.
accept
thank you.
all of the benefits and salaries for Stonebridge.
I'll second that for discussion.
Yeah.
I can't find it right now, but I was reading it the other day and it looked like we're low on, in my opinion, low on fresh base and it, but I can't find it here. So it looked like 60,000 or something like that. I can't remember where I saw that at. But is that, someplace we can pull that from somewhere else? Money for fresh base or like my rap project or Holland, can we pull that from somewhere else?
Yeah, Chair, that's in the cap tax budget.
But we can do it out of there then, okay, so we can put it
The
in there,
road
that's fine.
materials
That
in
makes sense.
this budget is just for, we've been using that for pothole
Yeah.
maintenance on paved roads and renting the Durapatcher machine
Yeah.
and it's for maintenance type stuff.
I wouldn't even
New
ask.
gravel is kind of a capital
Yeah,
improvement.
I just didn't have a chance to visit with you before or else we wouldn't even be talking right
So
now.
yeah, tomorrow, we'll be talking about that.
Thank you.
Just, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd love gravel, because I understand that material isn't, wrap's not great. It's not the preferred method. It's good for a year or two, and then it falls apart.
Yeah, it's, that's why that's got quite a bit of stuff piled up is, the counties went through a period years ago of using it, some growing pains and periods, and it's gotta be in the right situation with the right amount of other material you wanna mix it with, on the right road. And then ideally, it's best to put it down and then cover it up with another oil chip seal pavement or something, but
Okay,
left it
okay,
left it
so
on
not,
the road, it
right.
doesn't make the best road.
So we'd love gravel if we could get it. It's just, yeah, okay. What's that?
Just what Ken said, if it's covered up, chip sealed and oil, it makes a really good road in the right positions, right, with the right sub base, so it's
Sure, yeah.
actually a good thing to do.
Yeah,
If you look at some of the county roads we have here, that they started out with that very same process. So they do work
I think
And a
I
lot
heard the same
better.
thing.
a lot better dust control. That's what
Yeah.
I hear the comments on all the
Okay.
time is dust control, so, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. County clerk election requested.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, Hartwell and Board, Bishop Thompson County Clerk and Recorder. I did write a memorandum for you. It's sort of towards the back. And I just wanted to touch base on what that memo did say. In reviewing my statutory responsibilities, the requested budget does show some increases due to statutory things that happen this year that don't happen every year. One of those things is the 26 election cycle. So the upcoming election is expected to be larger and more complex. The size of the ballot is probably going to be historically longer than any ballot I've ever designed. Just looking at the potential candidates, precinct men and women, we have a lot of races. And the minimum staffing that's required, the payroll that's necessary to meet the statutory compliance requirements. Of course, this is an election year, so you will be natural to expect the election budget to go up. For your consideration in mind, my budget is color coded with the soft peach color, soft orange. so that you can see which lines easily are elections only. And be able to pick those out from the other duties that the county clerk does. I did have another increase to my budget because of the operational shift that I proposed by transitioning all of payroll and accounts payable board employees to the clerk's office to align with those duties. And so that's a shift and an increase in number of employees is, again, hoping for that transition shift of payroll and accounts payable board employees to the clerk. The third increase to my budget is the cost of living adjustment or COLA. I'm requesting a 5% COLA for all of my staff to maintain our competitiveness and support retention and to help offset increases in the employee portion of any health insurance costs that we know are coming. We still do not pay, for example, the market rate of vehicle title clerks in our dealerships as we do downstairs. We're still in my market rate in those positions, especially and land title people as well that work for title companies. So I feel compelled that this 5% COLA request is necessary. Knowing that you're going to be looking at operational costs, I just wanted to be upfront with you overall. Those are 3 big reasons why my budget is bigger than the prior year. Elections, the operational shift of duties, and the cost of living COLA. I am prepared to walk through my budget with you. I do have a narrative as well. Just trying to find that page. My narrative is also color coded, so if you go behind my budget line past the PR tab, you'll see the narrative supplement. I think that's very important in helping to understand the numbers. And I chose to make some notes here for all of us. So obviously, we're looking at operational today, and I'm just making my suggestion for benefits, salaries, and employees. So all of that is, of course, for your consideration whenever you're ready to look at that as far as the 5% COLA that I'm asking and so on. So if I start with purchased services, if that's all right with you, Madam Chair, unless you have questions on benefits or salaries before I start on operations.
Yeah, I did, so, well, Cameron, do you want to start with the formula issue?
Madam Chair. If I can have Deb's assistance for a moment, if you can click on the PR tab. And then in column I, you're looking at the yearly amount. So I-27, if you can click on that cell. So the formula that is written in here has a range of I-8 to I-17, and then you add in I-19. I-19 being the payroll person that the clerk is requesting to go over to her office. The formula as written creates a loop where I-19 will be added to each of the 10 cells from I-8 to I-17. You need to either have that plus sign be a comma, or you have to have I-19 outside of the brackets. It creates a $464,000 error. That same would go for column G, which is previous year. So it's up to you, Deb, how you want to do it, but if you did it as a bracket like that and did a plus I-19 outside of the bracket. Hit enter. Your actual salaries is not 1,038,000, it's 524,000. 1,038,000 also included 5% COLA, which now changes that COLA to 26,000. As you see on the first page, that now has been adjusted. The benefits seem to be okay, but that error results in 464,000. Do want to point out that the payroll position is also in my budget, so that creates $104,000 duplication in it. And the last point, it says lateral move of AP and payroll, but there is nothing in there for a lateral move from AP. So if you're going to go through those statutory responsibilities, I take an exception that one of my staff has been excluded from that. The last is on your salaries for, I guess it would be the election judges, temporary part-time salary, the 163. It includes your deputy clerks, the 3 individuals in there, plus the individuals that you're having as elections. Your memo says 115,000 in election judges, but the amount from the PR tab for the election workers says 105. So there's a discrepancy there as well, $10,000. So I'm asking if they can clarify and clean this up, but the salaries itself, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, and I couldn't track elections, folks, if they were in a couple places or just one. So maybe we need to just walk through that line by line. I don't know.
And do you want to discuss benefits and salaries now or just operationally?
I think, well, I just want clarification on the elections, folks. And if they're in a couple different places, and if we're giving them W-4s, are we also needing to put them on here? On the PR tab? And then I chatted with Kenny about the clerk 3 title. The wages in there were fine. It's just the title that doesn't fit. Anyway, those were my questions, comments.
Okay, on which page are you looking at for the title?
On the PR tab?
All right.
Yeah, just the 3 that you highlighted from July to December elections, deputy clerk 3.
And the title deputy clerk 3 is the question? On the
Yes.
tab?
Yes.
Okay, so the election people in the office are paid the same by hourly rate as a deputy clerk 1 or 3, depending on their duties. So the duties of these 3 people who would work from July to December are deputy clerk 3. Currently, I have a part-time person interested in the ES&S equipment, a part-time person interested in working the election judges, but they are 3 independent positions that are at that higher level as a head judge. So deputy clerk 3 could be replaced with the word head judge.
Okay.
To match the other election employees. We can make that change.
Is that,
In fact, we can make that change right now.
Yeah, the pay is absolutely accurate. Clerk 3 just has a different job description, so.
oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The pay is fine, we can
You're
just change.
just
the-
trying to
we just
relate
change
to the
title.
pay.
So we can use head judges.
So we can put in head judge there, Deb, on those 3. Okay, so that takes care of that PR tab. Now, if we go to the additional pages for the election, early voting, head judge, election judge, do you have any questions on page 1? There's 1, 2, 3 pages of that for election judges' salaries and wages.
Are you on this page?
Nope, it is behind that page.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we included an
On
additional
our page.
3
Okay.
pages.
Okay.
So it says 2026 total election costs for primary and general at the top, 115,967.33. So Christie, that is where that number comes from, is those 2 pages.
Okay.
Specifically looking at head judges and election judges that are only going to work either election day or the early voting room, something like that. They're not the same employees that are gonna be on my PR tab that are also temporary, head judges from July to December. So I did distinguish that because the 3 head judges on the PR tab are actually working for 6 months. That's our hope.
So with this 115,967, then if this is contract, when I go to the contract line item, it says 8. Okay,
Madam Chair, if I could clarify, it's, your document here says the 115. That's not what I have question about. It's the second election worker PR tab. That total in there said 105,833. You add it to those 3 individuals that you have now changed to head judge, that total becomes 173,638. Not the 164. That's where I'm questioning.
Are adding and math again.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
The election worker tab was not put in the budget book. It was just kind of a brush to make sure some of the numbers were right. We were pulling our numbers from the 3 sheets, but I will definitely go back and recalculate those based on the numbers of the summary sheet where it shows the 115. If you look down the 105, that is wages, but the 115, 612 is everything. When we first started, the 115, 967, 33 on the base sheet is correct.
Right.
We were using the primary and the general, using the hours, the wages, pulling it that way. It was a lot easier to do, to be honest with you. We started on the election worker tab, but it just was getting convoluted, to be honest with you. So we made this graph to make it a lot easier in Excel. And I do apologize, Cameron, that was not attached other than the election worker, which we kind of left stagnant towards the end.
The main thing is, every other department is required to have a PR tab if they are an employee. And if we're calling election workers employees, it needs to have this PR tab so the commissioners can review it.
Okay, and we did include that information for you on 3 pages. It just doesn't say PR tab on it. But we can change that and have this is also in Excel, so we put it into, we pulled our Excel, put it ended up being 3 pages long. It is for, we can put it into the format that you're used to seeing. And they are contract, they are all employees.
okay. So yeah, if you could get that to us, Deb, that'd be great. Betcha for the binders. Thank you. Okay.
Have we answered your questions as well,
I think so.
Mr. Dowd?
I probably want time just to look at it again.
Yeah. It's still the same on the contract worker. You have 80,000 in there. That was the same from multiple years, you know, every time they have the election. If we're moving these over to temporary part-time salary, it's the justification of still having 80,000 in the contract labor. I get the ESS comes in and helps with that. That was usually 30 to 40,000. I'm asking on behalf of the commissioners for clarification on the rest of the contract labor.
And we have those quotes from ES&S. One of the things that happened that changed is we no longer design our own ballot. So the people that had all the training to design our own ballot saved us about $40,000 a year. We now have to contract ES&S to do that. So there's $40,000 right there for contract labor that we've never had to pay before because our IT person and our former election person was able to do all of the designing of our ballot. So that is a huge change, and it's somewhere, it can vary, but we have quotes. There are just quotes because it's based on the number of candidates. And I can tell you that the bid we got is probably going to be way too low because of the number of candidates and the number of offices that will be on our ballot that has to be designed. So that is a huge change from years past, and will be all pretty much ES&S. I do have a part-time person that's willing to come back in and work on entering some of the data into the portal. but, and IT who's willing to help me on election day. Otherwise, it will be all ES&S. They will be here on the ground even with us for testing, before election day, through election day. So yes, there's a lot of cost for contract, and the majority of that contract is ES&S. It does include a little bit of mileage, but there's not really a lot of our judges that submit a lot of mileage, so there won't be election judge costs coming very little. If there's a meal or training or, training is also considered wages, so that's not really contract here.
Madam Chair, thank you, Clerk Johnson. If we could just have the bid, the estimate for the contract for the ES&S for the commissioners, I think that would be very helpful though.
Yeah, I saw the 10% increase for the 307 shredding, but I didn't see the increase anywhere or in the memo on the ES&S stuff. So that would be great.
The city is necessary.
That's
So
what I was
if we
getting ready
go
to.
to the narrative and start looking at purchased services, contract labor is the first one. And you will see that that is 307 shred, of course. We also went from Al, who was taking care of all of our equipment, printers, to Devin with the office shop, so that is in there. And that is in green. Now, the contract labor in the peach or orange is elections only. So I just wanted to share with you the two differences. Green is all my other divisions. The peachy orange contract is elections. So looking at contract labor, Max Moving, they are contracted to involving election equipment and services. That's a huge cost. 307 shredding again with a 10% increase. And then I have ES&S written there, but I didn't elaborate on what they do. But the majority of that contract work is for that orange line is ES&S. Besides Max Moving, that would probably be Max Moving would probably be the next biggest expense there.
And then, just, yeah, and it's making sense. I'm down through travel and then going into supplies. I just had a question on the election office supplies. The ballots, is it because there's so many more? Let's see. I guess there's more folks voting in this one, so it's more ballots.
Again, these are all estimates off the current number of registered voters we have, and we are up 2,000 to 3,000 in just registered voters.
Yeah.
Then we have a lot more races this time that we're estimating. And we're estimating quite a few candidates finally. Keep in mind that I also balance out these expenses with elections with revenue. So elections is a pass-through, except for the county's candidates and portion. So please keep in mind that the county is not picking up this entire election budget. This election budget is a pass-through, and I do bill, and it is already included in the revenue, the city of Sheridan, the town of Dayton, the town of Grantchester, the school districts, the college, the conservation district, everybody who's on the ballot, with the exception of all the precinct men and women who file with me, who will be on the primary ballot. The parties do not pay for their share of the ballot. The county has to pay for that. And then the county pays for their portion of candidates. So keep in mind that the election budget will be the actual budget, the actual invoices that finally get incurred. This is just a budget. This is an estimate of what we think is going to happen. The actual election budget will then be billed out and proportionally paid. And majority of it is the county has a pass-through for that. And you will see those revenues come back in revenues.
Okay.
Cell phones, I do not have, we had 3 cell phones, we're down to 1. Advertising, in green, the Of course, we've had to increase that slightly for the cost increase there. Advertising for elections, again, all the costs to run this election are going to be passed on and shared by everybody on the ballot. So keep that in mind. And then dues did not change for our clerk trainings that we do. Our under membership dues for election, we're still doing the third Thursday booth, and so we've entered that. And they are not indicating any price increases there. Now, the maintenance agreement, we have a little bit of money in there should one of the pieces of equipment get dropped on its head as it's being unloaded like it did out at precinct 12-1. Then we have to have a little bit of money in there on top of the maintenance agreement with Mark Rambert in IT. So there's a little bit of funding there. The building and office rentals for each location. Now, we have never paid county-owned buildings like the fairgrounds. But those that are not county, we have paid them a token to help with the lights and that kind of thing. So that's in there again. The insurance premiums and bonds, the Secretary of State is saying really there's no increase for our notary requirements. This is not the insurance that Cameron carries for us at the polling places. That's in a different budget. This is just simply our notary bonds and things like that that we need. Travel, we've got that down there both in green for all the other divisions plus elections and training. I do have a set per diem, so my office and staff cannot just charge whatever they want to for a meal or a room. It has to be a certain per diem or under, and what we're doing is we're following the state per diem. And then under supplies, do you have any questions so far under purchase contracts, travel? Supplies, again, when you get to the one that says, there's actually two of those, Madam Chair. The one that has parentheses, ballots, and then the next orange one is just supplies. Everything just related to the ballot is always kept in this separate line so that we can have an exact price when we're done at the end. How many ballots we printed on demand in the early voting, how many ballots we sent to every polling place and printed ahead of time, and so on. Separate from all the other office supplies and printing under the next orange there. Going back up to the green office supplies and printing, there is a small increase there too, because every other year we do YDOT title orders, and that's your actual official YDOT documentation to produce a legal title for the state of Wyoming. And this is our year to order that. That could be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the number of titles we have left to use up, and depending on the number of titles we have to order from YDOT, and that's at every 2 years. So this is that year. So that's why you'll see a small increase there for the green, is because this is our year to order new Wyoming titles. Boxes of them. And then, let's see. We put a few narratives in there for you to kind of give you an idea of where we are. And green books and catalogs, again, that's all of our books online and hard books. In order to create Wyoming titles, we have to be able to look up every state law in the country and be able to transfer those titles. You'll see the next orange for fire district elections. We are running a mail ballot election for Sheridan Area Rural Fire District. That fire district tends to be the largest fire district in our county. In fact, it alone is as big as the other 5. And so the costs for postage and all of that, we looked at last year's and added an increase for postage and things, but just that one fire district by itself will cost as much money as the 5 did last year, just based on sheer volume of numbers. And so some continued education there that happens, and that's the end of my narrative. So for round 2, then we'll come back with more detail on the narrative for the benefits, the salaries. Well, maybe not benefits, but salaries. Our benefits did increase though, because all of our judges are employees, so that that is where we saw that increase as well. I have asked our auditors, our new auditors, to look into that topic too, whether or not our election judges should continue to be employees or go back to contract. So that's a question they're looking into. Our prior auditors were not able to advise us, but they told us all the research we had done looked good to them, and so to move ahead as employees. That's what we're doing, operating on the last recommendation of the prior auditors. Let's see, do you have any other questions for me?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Clerk Thompson, you may have already touched on this and I just didn't hear it, but under miscellaneous special election, the 45,000.
Okay, so that is for the cost of for instance, the lodging tax, the capital facility tax, things like that are coming up. We've always budgeted one special election there. Should anything come forward, I won't know until 110 days before that election if I have notice of a separate election that needs to happen, a special election. So that average cost of 45,000 has been a very, very old number. It's probably underrated, but it's just there as a safety net. Should I get notice as county clerk 110 days prior to the general, then I have a special election to run as well. One year we had the city would come forward with the city county administrative question, the chlorine question, college had a tax question. It just depends. The college tax question was on an off year. So that 45,000 is a buffer should I get notice of a special election coming for the general. We just hit the deadline this week for notice of a special election for the primary, so I don't have it in there twice. And I received no official notice of that. So it's one of those things in statute that we prepare for, and then when we don't need it, we don't need it. It's possible by the time that this budget is passed, what I've done in the past is if I hit that 100-day notification date, then I could take that out.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Clerk Thompson, so if that $45,000 is not used, then does it just get absorbed into your budget?
It does not. It stays and usually is used to balance the budget with other items.
Your budget or the overall?
Overall budget. In the past, Administrative Director Renee Miller would use that to then balance budgets in July. Whatever other budgets needed those line adjustments. But we don't even have to have it in there. If the 110-day notice comes and goes and we don't have an election, we can remove that prior to adoption on July 15th, 16th. I would just as soon not have it in there if we don't need it.
Well, we'll just look at the updated spreadsheets and then be prepared in June to chat again and have some time to look at it with the changes in the salaries that happened. Does that work for folks?
Yeah, Madam Chair, that
Yeah.
would be for me. I have one question.
Oh, yeah, please.
You mentioned that in the past, we were able to craft our own ballots. But now ES&S is saying that that's not possible for us to do that anymore?
I'm saying
why
it's
not?
not possible because I lost all the staff that had the training to do that.
Oh, it's not possible for us to do that.
Correct.
Oh, I thought it was okay.
It's an internal thing and you have to have more staff to do it and you also have to have the training of the staff to do it. I don't have either. I don't have the extra staff and I don't have anybody on staff with that training. The training has to start 1.5 years in advance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. We're gonna hit Diana real quick while you're here in between your court dates.
So to clarify, Madam Chair, we're not approving any line items in my budget today.
No,
None.
no. Well, we just took out $500,000. So it's just time to chew on the new numbers and the.
Good morning. Besides that salaries, which is still up in the air, as you know, the state has allocated more money for the biennium for not only the elected, but the deputies. And been trying to find out how much that will be. It's a certain amount divided by how many deputy county attorneys there are in the state. I don't know when, as of what time that is, because I'm sure that number changes maybe weekly, certainly monthly. So I don't know when they make this determination, so they know what to divide it out, so how much more money the county will be, each county will be getting. So I'm trying to find that out from people in Cheyenne, but, so I haven't even filled in any of the salary stuff, is usually this is dealt with later as far as was.
Mhm.
And then this additional allocation, I would like to get that answer, so I'm not just throwing numbers out there that aren't accurate, but I don't know if I'll ever. I've been emailing and I just left another phone message, so anyway, that's been blank, but it will be a certain amount for each of the 4 deputies we have. I've contemplating, and so I don't want to really do anything today, of maybe requesting another deputy position, depending on how much money we might be getting from the state. I don't think it's something that I'm going to split up evenly across all the deputies, because we have positions that are very different. The civil position is very different than the criminal position, which is very different from the juvenile court position. And everybody does work, and some deputies do much more work at night, evenings because of trials than, some of the others. So, I did notice on the, what I got, it says, one of our employees is, maxed out on Condrey. I've already been through this before. I did call Condrey. Condrey said it doesn't apply, they never meant it to apply to attorneys, even though they were asked to do that. That employee's been with the county for 20 years and, works no less than 60 or 70 hours a week. And so, for him to be maxed out at anything I just don't buy it, and I don't think, it doesn't apply to us, but if it does apply to us, we certainly should be at 26 and not at whatever level this is at. I will be asking for a raise for that individual, because that individual is a workhorse. I mean, does a lot of work for us.
Yeah.
So, again, the whole country thing for our office, besides the support staff, is something I've just never agreed with, and I did call Condrey about that. So what I can really address today is, I'll get back to you on all the salaries and the reimbursements from the state as soon as I know more. The regular stuff is, in my office, doesn't change a lot every year. Overtime wages, we have, our, I guess, legal secretary, supervisor. She sometimes stays later because we have to get stuff done that day. So I've put in an amount for that. I've been trying to tell them not to do it because we haven't had the money, so just go home, don't work extra, but sometimes we're up against deadlines, so she does, she stays and works a little bit. We were over budget last year on the involuntaries. We do have the contract with the hospital, and that's not what this is from. This is from people that get transferred to WBI and Casper. This is something we have no control over. This is a cost. Some years we have more involuntaries than others. Sometimes if they're vets, they can go to the VA and we don't have cost if they get transferred to WBI or to be held there, or again, hardly anybody ever goes to the state hospital because there's a wait list.
They don't have.
A million miles an hour, years. So, that would, if they ever got to the state hospital, that would involve no charge, but that's not what happens. So they ended up either just being here for a short period of time, go to WBI, or some of them that can go to the VA.
Sorry, switching back to salaries.
Hmm.
What, I guess I'm thinking about that employee that's maxed out on the Condrey. Have we had that conversation, you and Kenny? I mean, I guess, where would your proposed? It'd be good for me to see a number in the salaries in the PR tab, if you're proposing something. Yeah, Kenny, you?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is once we kind of figure out where we're going to be with the raises, I would like to be able to make a shift within the grades so that they come back up and they need to be at a hiring range somewhere in the 100 or a little more than
Yeah.
100,000 range,
Yeah.
or like in the 80 range. So we need to look at that increase and propose that increase. Kind of wanted to see what the raises were going to be for this year so we could use that minimum line to kind of start that as our new hiring. So we have had that conversation, and I agree, we need to look at that.
Okay,
We're substantially low for the average cost of an attorney. Sure.
would there be, I guess to kind of put a pin in that thought, would there be a way to propose a salary and what that new maybe step and grade would be for this individual?
We could sure have that conversation as she works through her numbers, that's kind of what she's talking about, is where she's gonna apply those dollars.
Okay,
We can sure come up with that.
because I think before our next conversation about the salaries, that would be helpful for me to see,
Yeah.
because he sounds like a different, it's outside of maybe any.
He has a
raise
lot of
or-
years of service with Sharon County, so,
Yeah,
and I agree, we don't want.
it's not a COLA thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't do that before, just because historically, we've just kind of waited to figure all that stuff out. This year is different because the first time since I've known, we've gotten this additional allocation from the state, and then in June, they already have a meeting set for the more permanent changes to the statutes. So hopefully this will just happen automatically when the state's portion will just increase by statute. And so some of those meetings are coming up.
Okay.
This is for the biennium, but those are scheduled already.
I think you've only got like 7 or 8 line items outside of salaries. and
Right.
benefits. There's not a
I
lot.
never have, so I was just hitting the ones that were in the red, and postage and freight, I guess that's.
Yeah.
We do a lot of certified mail, juvenile court certified mail for everybody. Everybody has to get notices by certified mail, and it's just an expensive process and depends on how many cases we have.
Yeah, I don't, it all, I mean, you adjusted based on, what you saw this year, it made sense to me.
The advertising, just as Clerk Thompson said, we're going through some stuff with the airports. We had to do notices in the paper. I mean, those things we just don't know, but this, just trying to adjust a little bit up for those because we didn't have quite enough. But other than that, everything is, our Westlaw, our books, our continuing education, which each attorney has to have 15 hours to stay licensed, has to have 15 hours a year. And we usually, 3 of us do that at Waco because it's the cheapest way. Usually it's a couple $100 an hour, unless it's at Waco. So while everybody else goes to Waco, that's a little fun. We're going for one reason, and that's to get our hours. So it's a good way to do it.
Do folks have any other questions for Diana? Would you feel comfortable approving everything but the benefits and salaries?
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I would like for you to actually look again, like we talked yesterday, about your need for more people in that office and reevaluate that and bring that back in the next.
I will. I had intended to
I would
do
really
that.
appreciate that being something that you can bring forward in front of everybody.
Right.
But I agree with Chairwoman.
Yeah.
I think that I would propose a motion to accept all of attorney's budget except for salaries and benefits.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Diana. Thank you. All right, moving on to the Board of County Commissioners.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
In your commissioner budget, you also have to keep in mind the administration budget. When we shifted the HR over to the BOCC, those costs also moved over. So overall, if you looked at adopted from last year, admin and BOC, and then you look at for this year, it's overall down 2,000. So that's the bigger picture. The BOCC as a whole, though, pretty much the same as last year. except for what we're adding for the HR. So I have a summary explanation in there. I'm gonna pretty much just leave this open to questions since it really is your budget.
Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Not a question, just a comment. You know, we talked about this last year, we did the continued education. You know, as much as we'd like to do that, we are looking at already, before we ever do anything, a $1.5 million, if I read this correctly, $1.5 million extra expenses over revenue, expected revenue. So that may be a place that we maybe need to save, not this year.
I guess my only thought there, Commissioner Jennings, is that, you know, I've heard from a few folks doing that training, and it's been pretty invaluable as new supervisors. If we don't use it, we don't use it, but I think it's important to get employees the training they need to be good bosses. I don't know if we'd use it again for that. But just my initial thoughts on that. Anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I would like to see it, I guess the word would be curtailed to required training. Rather than just something that someone just wants to go to. If it's required, then yeah, I think that we should fund it, but I don't think that we should just be funding something that someone just wants to go to. And I think that ought to go throughout the entire staff of the entire county. I know that there are a lot of entities, or a lot of staff leaders that are, they watch that really close. Diane just gave us a little bit about how they're trying to save money and stuff, but I think that we really need to be careful of that, so that it's not something that is an added expense in the county. That's much, that's all I'm saying.
And I would just point out to Commissioner Jennings, that includes the formula error from the clerk's office.
That's the 14,000.
You know, the difference between revenues and expenditures, the 1.5 that you chosen. You're right.
Madam Chair.
So it would be about a half, so it'd be close to 1 million instead of 1.5.
Right.
$837,000.
Glad you have that number.
Thank you, Kim.
How'd you get that?
I've got a friend.
She did the bona fide.
That's trying to write it down, but it.
Okay, any other thoughts on action you want to take on this? And then Cameron, the JPA funding would just go, where would we put that?
You're talking about the plan?
Yeah.
It would be under the capital expenditures. And it's gonna be discussed tomorrow.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have anything else in here.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just as another note, and I know this is not a popular opinion, but I'm also not for the WCCA membership tuition. But
Right.
That's
Okay. All right, well, what would you like to do? Do we want to take some line items? Do you want to sit on this till June?
I would prefer to sit on this one until June.
Okay. I don't mind. Anybody care? One way or
Look
the
good with
other?
me.
Okay, all right, we won't take any action on the county commissioners stuff today. All right. Assessor, Coco, hi. Hi. The extension office, we're getting to you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start with salaries. The biggest increase would be because I'm requesting the chief deputy position back. And then also I'd like to put one of my employees into the new position that she's taking a lot more responsibilities and duties. And then I have the normal, we've had one that received their temporary certification, so he'll qualify for a bump. and possibly another one that'll qualify for the permanent. She has one more test to take. I did put in there to possibly have Paul come in during August for tax roll, but he only came in before for like 4 hours, so I can't really see it. I put 15 hours, but I don't really see it being that much, if I even need him to. So,
And where did you put him?
Sorry, I'm just getting.
I think we put him in. I think it was just like a training assist temp. Not really sure.
Oh,
Would that be-
part-time?
Yeah,
Okay, I see him, got it.
and I think that was all I had on salaries. And then I increased overtime a little bit, and that, we had so much overtime because of all the administration with the exemptions. And then that put us behind. And so then that's what a lot of it was this year. And I foresee that happening again as long as the exemptions stay in place. So that's why I upped that one a little bit. And then the membership tuition dues, I just took and added all those up and it was over. But Paul didn't go to Waco. He didn't put in for Waco, so I think that might have been a little bit of the difference on that one. And then for the mileage, travel, meals, and lodging, that is all for our education. So each new employee has to attend 101 and then use PAP. And that's what gives them their temporary certification. And then they have to get an additional 90 hours. So that's 3 weeks of classes. And I anticipate, I think we may go over a little bit because we have one class in June. That's why I upped that one a little bit. I think that's all I said. Do you guys have any questions?
Questions for Coco? Sounds very logical to me. Yeah, you guys had a lot of training.
Yes, yeah. And then we also have we have to have so many hours every 2 years.
Well, the continuing education piece.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
I would make a motion to approve the assessor's budget excluding salary benefits.
is a motion and a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion passes. Thanks, Coco. Thank you. All right, extension, ladies. Thanks for hanging around. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate numerous people have helped me try to do your budget for the extension for Sheridan County. It's very different in every county, obviously, and I appreciate Deborah and Cameron has helped, and I called Chrissy for some questions as well. So I appreciate your guidance. Probably the biggest change or the increase is with salary, and it's still kind of up in the air. It's because Chandra is part-time, but Deborah, I believe it was Deborah, sent me the information. Chandra has worked almost more than 40 hours a week, just holding things together. She definitely is an asset in that office. And it's a little tricky with some of her benefits. So if she wants to go 40 hours a week, that isn't 100% given at this time. So Deborah helped me in case that's an opportunity that she could go 40 hours, what that would look like. Because she is working 40 hours basically at this time, just holding everything together. There's 3 full-time educators in that office at this time. She also does a lot of things with the fair. I'm not 100% if she's doing that through extension or if she's doing it on her own. I know she's doing it during extension time, like trying to work with the fair book and doing all those entries. So, and obviously, again, every office is different, how those things work. So, but I know Chandra is definitely an asset there. She talked with me about the whole, when we went over the budget as a staff, and we took off most of the carryover overtime during county fair because she said that most of those issues were ironed out already.
Okay.
So that was taken out. I did provide a narrative to go over the whole office admin as well as the county fair carryover, the overtime. There's 2 full-time extension educators as well as a sensory nutrition educator in the office at this time. Sensory nutrition doesn't use the county vehicle, but Zach as well as Larissa utilize that. In the past, I'm not 100% sure, but I think past educator used her own vehicle to transport some things because she had her kids were involved. And so it was a little bit of a conflict. So she didn't use the county vehicle, whereas Zach would be using the county vehicle. He'll have to use his own vehicle when it comes to pulling the trailer to State Fair. Which is one thing, the vehicle they have right now is in great shape. It doesn't have a lot of miles on it. But sometimes the counties, like in our county, we do like fleet vehicles, they switch over departments at times. So if that's ever an option, if there's a larger one to carry more kids in or to pull a trailer, that would be something to try and keep extension in your thoughts for. When I was figuring the travel budget, so of course, fuel is a huge issue right now. Trying to figure out that price. Those were all in that narrative, explaining those. I increased the office demo materials just because the price of all of those materials go up, as well as having the 3 full-time educators in the office at this time. They're all doing great things, providing great programming for the county. I'm not sure if you have any other questions. Were any of you able to go to the needs assessment that they did? So maybe some questions were what extension even does. Sometimes people aren't aware of the opportunities or the.
It was nice how they separated the groups into each of the 4 programs that you have, right? Yeah.
So there's ag, community health and vitality, 4-H, and CMP. Yes.
Yeah, that's where I got the egg-aged question.
That's good. This is a perfect time to bring that up. So.
Any thoughts? Action?
So it looks like we're going from 100,905 to 118,565. Is that what I'm seeing correctly?
And that is, a lot of that is the salary for if it went to a full-time position.
So if we excluded salary and benefits, then that number would be different, right? Down by.
Oh, if we're just taking action on everything but benefits
Correct.
salary like we have before.
Correct. And especially since she doesn't 100% know if Chandra wants to do that anymore.
I know, I'm not sure Chandra knows if she wants to do it because there's a
Right.
lot of players in her situation with
Right.
rides and
Yeah.
and I don't want to pressure her into that. So I tried to get an answer for a couple of months, but my other question, I wasn't sure about, I put in my narrative about an updated computer for her. It definitely needs to be updated. So I'm not sure if that needs to go, if you do countywide or if I talk to the university about ordering a computer, like where that would come. If you have certain equipment, it's not in my line items at all.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know how you've taken care of that in the past, if it's been mentioned.
Jared, it depends on the employee. If it's a state employee, it comes from the state. If it's a county employee, it would come from the county. Mark just left, but it shouldn't be a problem if you send me an email.
Okay,
It would be under IT for us.
okay. That's what's
If
so
it's our-
challenging for me. I'm
If
not.
it's our budget, it wouldn't come out of there, it would come out of the IT budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
For a motion if we're.
Yep, Madam Chair,
Mr. Darcy.
I move to approve the,
Extension office.
yeah, extension offices, but, that's right. Getting punch drunk here. From, excluding salaries and benefits at this time.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Those opposed? Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you so much.
We took 5-minute break.
Okay, yes. Yes. Okay, 5-minute break. Much water already. Then we're good.
can I get a quick nap in 5 minutes? My 5-minute midday nap.
It's so much here.
That's why I said I need my 5-minute midday nap.
Yeah, works makes happy. That's what I need. How long have you been in that position again?
So I've been the county coordinator here since.
Oh, okay, okay.
But it took some time to.
Gotcha. Well, because I totally, like, somehow when Zach had talked to me, I missed the Big Horn County thing, so when you called the other day, Emily's like, oh, you're Big Horn County. I'm like, what? And part of it is-
Mark. She needs a new computer.
So she.
Got a visit. Extension.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Well, it's nice to see that.
Just a test.
I know for like our tri-party board, Ann Perkins helps assist Big Horn County with that piece. So it's good to see the swapping.
Well, it's
Great.
It's hard to find good jobs.
Like she's like, right. Because they're different. So I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. Are you driving home? What is your great direction? Okay. Okay, yeah. I'll just- Yeah. I get to wear it's jolly.
There's the
Oh.
child.
So he's the only one from Big Horn that I get to talk to. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. The trail system that you guys are working.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that is exciting. Well, safe travel to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Grady, do you know desktop versus laptop for Shannon? I think she wanted a laptop, but I'll double check.
Okay.
And I just,
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can-
You don't want to be. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thanks. Okay.
I was fast. I meant 5 minutes when I said 5 minutes.
Yeah. Not even. I don't know how you did that.
Last ones. This is just last month, we go through the steps and publish vendor. Okay. It just shows what's happening. Keeps going up. Never ending. But that's not abnormal. That's what happened in Title 25.
Oh.
Good. Hang it in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can now ask me also. They now- His name's the council.
Well, I think you have that down pat.
Well, been there, done that for, been there, done it for over 40 years, so yeah.
Oh, we all thought.
See you later. Yep. I stood up during my nap, so.
A bell.
Yeah.
Be like,
Ding, ding,
5
ding, ding,
minutes
ding.
up. There he is.
There you go. All right, good. We're at clerk of court.
Yes, sir. You're at
All right. Find the tab.
Very good.
Clerk of District Court. There we go.
Morning, Renee.
Good morning,
Thanks for being here. So what are the highlights you want to share with us today?
Madam Chair, Commissioners. But I agree with Ms. Thompson and Diana Bennett that I do and would like COLA increases for my employees.
Yeah.
But I know that we're not going into that today, but I do support that.
Okay.
On my budget, you will see an increase on one of the items on the personnel in that I would request a chief deputy. It's not that I need perhaps an additional person. Right now, we have, besides myself, 4 other staff. But can we make one of those 4 a chief deputy by doing interviews? And I talked to Kitty on that, and he said we could work through that and seeing if we could have one as a chief deputy in case something happens and I have to take some time off or I have to be out of town. They could perhaps do the position that I do, a lot of it. When we did the 8% budget cut, I cut that position. And it is a hardship, but I understand commissioners are coming from also. So I believe that you have from Ms. Autumn an update on what the chief deputy be on your employee line items.
So, Madam Chair, so
Yeah.
Renee, that would just, one of your other 4 people would be receiving an additional $19,520. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, we could,
Okay,
we could do it that way.
all right. All right.
So, and because I understand getting rid of and we can't keep increasing the budget, but we could at least do it that way.
Okay, that's the way it appears to be proposed here. So,
So,
okay.
okay, so
Thank you.
the other thing on my budget, a lot of it's similar to last year. The 2 biggest increases you're gonna see on the budget, and these are really not anything my office can control. But if you look at the line item, public defender services and legal services, those are what you always see, and you'll see increases in it. We're asking the public defender services to be 160. We can't predict what is gonna come from the public defender. Right now, we know that their annual bills to us vary quite a bit. I submitted to you copies of invoices from 2026, which is 93,648. 2025, 93,000, but then you go to 2024 and it's $111,282. Right now, our public defender has 1 full-time public defender, but then they have 4 to 5 contract public defenders. And so we can't tell you how much exactly we are gonna be required to pay them. Sometimes when you have contract attorneys and that many, you're going to have a lot more money that you have to expend. Besides the public defender salaries, and we've showed you the 2022 budget was 120,000, 2023 was 150,000, 2024 was 170,000, and 2025 was 155,000. We're asking for 160 just in case, and just so we can cover expenses if needed. It also pays the $2,300 to $2,500 a month rent that the commission pays for. on the public defender. The other thing you've got to look at is that line item pays for transcript fees for court reporters if there are appeals. We can't predict how many appeals are going to be, what appeals are going to be. It's totally something that we cannot give you a specific amount on, but it can be quite a bit. Transcript fees are quite high. Now, the other line item that is 50252, legal services. And if you look at that, I've typed up the 2022 budget was 115,000, 2023 was 115,000. And then you go to 2025, it was 123,800. Legal services covers juvenile attorney fees. It covers Title 25 attorney fees. It covers a portion of the guardian ad litem fees, like for Veronica Zuber. And I gave you copies of what we have paid in those all along. Just so you know, this year was a strange year in that for some reason, the juvenile fees weren't as much as the prior 4 or 5 years, but that's an abnormal thing. They're usually very high. What you also have to know about legal services, you have a letter in there from Judge Phillips. Right now, juvenile fees and Title 25 fees are $100 an hour. And they've been that way for over 10, 15 years. When I was practicing law, my attorney fees were that, and as a juvenile attorney. Things go up. And Judge Phillips wants to increase the $100 an hour fee to $125 fee an hour. She can't do that. The commission has to do that. You guys have to approve $125 an hour for attorneys. And she's asking you to do that also. Just so you know, across the state, hers is not unreasonable. My husband is an assistant attorney general. He does workers' comp. They went from $150 an hour to $185 an hour. Every attorney fees are going up, all of them. It's a normal thing right now. And due to that, we are asking for an increase in the legal services budget. We are also seeing abnormally large amount of Title 25s. Mr. Bieber knows this. We have a large amount of juvenile fees. And we have to be able to provide attorneys for the people involved in that, the children, the parents, things. And attorneys aren't wanting to take them at $100 an hour or less because they have private attorney things that pay a much more larger amount.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I try to give you backup for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense and you can't control that. And I have a question for Clint. If Judge Phillips' request would be something that we would take care of with the budget process or a separate agenda item at a BOCC meeting? How does that?
I think it makes sense that it's part of the budget request.
Yes. Okay.
It would be like any other cost that our departments are noticing increasing.
Okay.
It just gets baked into the budgets.
Okay.
You guys would have to grant it to 125. I know it seems like the judge should grant it, but she thinks that your office has to grant the increase. That, and she did provide, and she asked all the other counties to provide what they're paying on juvenile fees right now. Please note that Johnson County is paying $175 an hour for juvenile attorney fees. I don't know why. It's more than most other counties. But all of the counties are looking at going up. So my biggest portions of my budget are really not from my office, but it's things we pay out of, and we have the invoices. So those two amounts, I'm asking for a very large increase in, and I apologize.
Do we have any questions for Renee?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just to comment on the public defender services. When you look at your capital budget, there's going to be a request to expand out the building that was purchased for that. I'm not sure the timing of that, but once that is all finished and public defender is moved, that would eliminate 28,000 from this one line item. I just don't know if it'll be done by July 1st. It may go one more cycle of a budget and then it would impact the year after.
Mr. Duff, would we have to pay the monthly payments on that, or would that just come straight from the commission?
Madam Chair, the building is owned by the county, so we would have to fix it up, but we would no longer have to pay the money to the BMO, Bank of Montreal. And that lease would go away as of June 30th, 2027. So that's the timeframe I'm looking in, but it does come out of this one line item. So once that transition takes place, you no longer have that expense. And there wouldn't be a rent after that.
Okay, and something else on the public defender, right now they only have one full-time position, Anna Malmberg. They usually had two. They had Jonathan and Anna, and then they didn't have to use as many contract attorneys. But right now, they don't have two straight attorneys there. I think she wants to have Tanya Klepper become a full-time attorney. Hopefully at some point they do that, but right now we don't know what the situation is. So contract attorneys, they have to hire a lot of them right now.
Okay.
So, not anything else that I can think of is increased that much. We don't do the indigent burials anymore. That's the coroner's position, and we don't have any funds on that. Is there any other questions on anything you can see on my budget? Don't pick it up. Almost anything else?
Any other questions for Renee? Thoughts on moving forward? Yeah.
I just had a question on, because it's talking about the different, going back to the juvenile court attorneys. Is there an issue, because right now it's broken down 0 to 4 years of experience, 5 to 9, and then over 10. But this is moving it to where everybody makes 125. Is that gonna cause an issue with lawyers versus
No.
established?
No, and in fact, it'll help Judge Phillips, because right now, and because of the low price, attorneys are not wanting these juvenile cases at all. And Judge Phillips is a sweet person and is able to ask a lot of these attorneys to take these, and they are, just to help her out. But when you have attorney fees that are going from private attorney fees, 200 to 400 an hour, they don't have to take these cases. And so I think we need to go straight across the board at 125, because we also have the Title 25s in there. We also have the guardian and, you know, a lot of other things in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Argy.
Renee. So you just wanna raise one of your employees to an assistant?
I would like that.
Clerk.
I haven't asked any of them if they would take that position, because I don't think that would be fair to them unless I know that the budget would be increased. And so I would like to ask them that, if you guys think we can approve that position prior to the next June meetings, and then I could, it might be if I can't, if none of them want to take the chief deputy, that I would have to hire another person to be a chief deputy. But my thought is just, if one of the four would do that, that would be a good thing.
I guess where I was going with this is, I know you and I know you're a workforce and I know you take on a lot of stuff. What I'm wondering is how thin is district court clerk office also at the same time?
I think we could do it with the four people, in that we have recently went to e-filing. And that's a little less work for them. We're all covering, and we're all coordinating and covering each other's things. If one of our employees are gone, the others are able to cover it. So I think we'd be okay I'm not working as many hours on the weekend, so it's getting a little better there, so I'm okay.
Madam Chair, I guess I'd like to ask Kenny at HR if that step works, if that's the amenable thing to do that.
Yeah, Renee and I already had this conversation.
Okay,
And that would be the normal, that you would promote somebody that has the experience already
okay,
inside of the department. If she needed additional help, like Mr. Arz was reflecting on, she might come back and ask for a deputy to fill a position rather than a chief.
or a part-time position or whatever.
Yep.
But I hear you saying, Renee, would like to have that approval today before our second round of budget meetings, the first week of June?
If I could pose to my employees that
Right.
there would become open a chief deputy, and I could see if any of them are
Work with Kenny for the interviews? Yeah.
would like to have that position and would interview for it. If they don't want to interview for it, I have to have another person.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Instead of, because I know there's a lot of discussion to be had on the COLA raises and all of those things. Maybe instead of voting on that particular for salary, maybe if we just had a consensus of, yes, that's something we'd like to see moving based on what happened in the budget. That gives her the ability to say, as long as we're able to get the budget where we need it to be, this is where we want to go with it. Without voting
Well,
specifically.
then she
on
hires someone and
salaries.
we're like, oh, never mind, we can't give it to you.
You're planning on, you're planning on moving someone in there before budget time. I must have missed that.
No, we can wait till budget. But I would like to be able to tell them that this is a possibility and that to see if any of them are interested.
Yeah.
So that I could know at this point. And then I would for sure in June say, yeah, hey,
Well, everything's a possibility, but I mean, unless we were taking formal action today, we can't promise your employees anything, you know?
I understand. I'd like to take formal action and to be able to have a chief deputy.
Okay.
Because if I don't have a chief deputy position open.
Okay.
Or can hire or promote one of my people to chief deputy, it's not fair for me to go to them and say, this is a possibility. And then you guys say, no, sorry, we can't have a
I
chief.
would agree with that.
No,
fully.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think so it'd be kind of a second separate thing outside of, I think, what you were discussing.
I agree. So I think we'd deal with that as a separate motion, but I would move that we approve the budget and the request from Judge Phillips to increase the rate to $125 per hour, and that we include the budget without salaries.
Yeah.
I'll second that. And hopefully Sheridan County will strike oil and we'll all be rich.
Yeah, Commissioner Jennings?
Madam Chair, just clarification, the move of that up to the 125, I think that's included in this budget, correct? Was that the legal?
Yes, I increased
Yeah.
not the public, legal services fees from 123,800 to 155,000. But you guys have to approve the 125 an hour also.
So that's why I put that in that motion,
Got it?
so that we're rectifying what Judge Phillips asked us to do. That's why. I put
We're
it
just
in
not
that motion.
adding extra on top of
It's that the
this.
budget will remain the same as what she has proposed here. We're just rectifying what Judge Phillips asked.
You guys,
Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right. Deputy position. With the increase of the 19,000, if it ends up being something internal.
I'm trying to move to, I don't know how to say that. I just moved to create a
Deputy?
chief deputy.
allow me to do interviews of my employees to see if any of them would become a chief
Yeah.
deputy.
I guess my motion should say something along the lines
To
of
authorize maybe?
authorize the
Yeah.
clerk of district court to increase one of her positions to head.
Second.
That would be
Right. Any discussion?
Spend a little more.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Great.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Building maintenance. Eric.
So that, building superintendent. All right, I'll just go down my list here. Line items increases. First one is electric and gas. Increased to 108,000. That's actually what we're on track to spend this year. With the new green space hill, however, we really haven't had a bad winter yet. So we haven't seen the full might of what that might cost through a bad winter. But nonetheless, that one was just increased to what we're on track to spend.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Eric, before you go too far into that, has that taken into account? We know that MDU is going to increase by, what was it, 25%? Does that take into account for this?
No, the only thing I increased in this was just what we're on track to spend this year. So no, I didn't consider that in there.
Madam Chair, it's kind of factored into that, but you're correct that we could go up even higher than the 108. But when I did the calculation, it was based off of more the natural gas side. That's what's killing us as opposed to the electric side.
Just wanted to keep that in everybody's mind.
Okay. On the repair and maintenance of building, we increased it to, we're just traditionally seeing a higher spending cost in that right now. It was low when I came on, and I find that more things fall under that line item than not. So that's where I'm particularly putting them. Equipment maintenance agreement, you're gonna see low numbers in there right now. We have agreements coming due and also potentially trying to get some more agreements in there for building maintenance. Under other, just a note that I have in there, salt for sidewalks, paint for the parking lots, flags, things like that. But again, we didn't really have a particularly harsh winter this last year and not a horrible one the year before either. So with a really bad winter, you may see an increase in that just due to the amount of salt that we have to purchase. Moving on to the capital side, you'll see in there that I put in for a new rooftop unit, coming in at around 515,000. The unit itself costs right around 250,000, and then currently what we have is a 200 amp service rooftop unit. This one would be 250 amps, so we'd have to pull in with electrical costs. That would be about 15,000 to get to the 250 amp service.
Chair, sorry to interrupt. That will be discussed tomorrow under the capital budget.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you don't mind coming back for that one.
Yeah, okay. That was kind of where I was jumping to, but we did put in a $3,100 additional cost. That was in capital as well, so I guess I don't need to talk about that. The door scanner, that would fall under repair and maintenance of building. That's the program that I use to unlock the doors for certain meetings. It also runs the fob. That program is beyond end of life, is pretty much what I'm told by Collins. And that's why we've been having so many problems with it. They don't unlock for meetings. I've had several people come in and, oh, my fob doesn't work and then it does work. So they gave me a quote of $3,574 to bring it up to where it needs to be. And with upgrading that software comes with a $400 annual fee from there on. So you'll see that that's in there as well. That's almost something that we can't not do. So I have that in there as well. Is there any questions?
That's fair. Commissioner Rosie?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Some time ago, you and I had a conversation about the inability to get up onto the old courthouse roof to get actually inspected, so we don't even know what's up there or any kind of damages and stuff like that, but I see that you do not have an item in here for rental. You know, you did zero there. So without renting some, how you gonna get up there?
Well, it was my understanding that right before I came on, those roofs were redone. So as of right now, they should be in good shape. I don't anticipate that there's any issues with that.
We don't do an annual inspection or anything like that.
I guess we haven't in the past. We can sure add that in.
No, I'm just curious about, I'm not trying to get into your end of things or anything. I just was curious.
The old courthouse roof is accessible. I can get to it through a window. It would actually be the juvenile justice roof that I would have to rent something to get up there. So, yeah, you can see the old courthouse roof. I've been on the new courthouse roofs many times. It would just be the juvenile justice.
Madam Chair, and I'm not 100% sure, Commissioner Orzi, who did it, but I think maybe it was Sean Parker. But at one point, we had a drone that went around, and seriously, when we did the roof, we had a drone. Maybe you remember that? I do. We had a drone that went around and actually videoed all the roof damage and everything and gave us that information. And I don't remember. I think Sean Parker ran that drone, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's something that maybe we could at least take a look at, just getting some drone footage of what our roof looks like. Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Eric, I think that's a fantastic idea. Because, we don't want to wait, even though it's new, waiting 5-10 years, maybe there's something happening up there that maybe every couple of years we should.
We don't.
Well, he's saying he can see the new one. It's public. It's the
It's just
Yeah,
juvenile justice.
juvenile justice. No.
And I think back when we talked, you were possibly looking at a unit that the whole county would share, which I'm all for that, if that's still an idea that we're discussing.
Well, it's one thing to have a drone that can get up and look at stuff. It's kind of like I was telling Pam Marsh. It'd be great to have for cabin, but you know what? If you got a cow out there that's cabin, you still got to saddle up and go there.
Mm-hmm.
So the drone really doesn't do you a lot of good. It's just gonna say, yeah, we got a problem there. We still got to get up there to fix it, I guess. So that is
Sure.
Well, we can, chat more about that.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the rest of his budget beyond benefits and salaries? I would look for a motion.
Oh, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve building and maintenance budget. Excluding benefits and salaries.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Public health. Okay, Heidi, your cats are out of control. Oh my gosh.
What do you know about my cats? They're really spoiled.
When I went over to drop off that 211 information, I got to see a bunch of pictures.
Oh,
Pretty cool. She's got those huge, they get up to like 40 pounds.
Maine Coon.
Yeah.
Really, really spoiled. All right, Heidi, highlights for us, changes from last year?
Yes, there's a couple. I'll address the largest increase request first. And one of them is in the salary, so I feel most comfortable giving you the background information and then kind of holding off because I don't have all the information I need on that. And that pertains to the state nurse expense. So all the state positions are currently now filled. We had a little leeway last year because we had a position open for 6 months. So the increase request is for 20,000. We had a governor's executive summary, which I attached a link in the narrative. It had a great study. Basically what this proposes is to move the nurses, and it's looking at a lot of state employees, but I'll speak to nurses particularly because this affects the 35% that you have to pitch in. It proposes that they move the state nurse salary up to 2024 pay tables. So that is looking at a potential 18% increase for nurses. So like I said, I don't have all the information on this because it hasn't been necessarily approved at the state level yet because it's a little early in the game. So that could go a couple different ways. They could just say no and we get nothing. They could compromise and give us only just a percentage of that, or they could approve the whole 18%. So I just went for the potential 18% increase, just to give you an idea of what that might look like.
Okay.
So,
And we pay 35% of that.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I send in a quarterly, so it's paid quarterly, 35%, and that includes salary and benefits. So I just looked at the 18% increase in salary and then just a small increase for benefit. And I kind of based it off what Cameron had for the county employees. So as far as increase in benefits.
Okay.
So, and I feel most comfortable if we do come back and address it when I have more information.
Yeah.
They have been telling us for the last couple weeks, they're hoping to get that to us, So I don't have it yet.
And you said it was, I guess, a memo from the governor's office?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the narrative section, if you want to, it's probably not over, but it's a link.
Oh, yeah, okay. I see it now.
Yeah, they did a study kind of comparing to other states. State of Wyoming has not given employees a cost of living adjustment since 2008, which we don't typically expect those anyway, but, yeah, they're finding that the turnover with state employees is not, feasible.
So we don't know if this state nurse line item got approved with the salary increases that they approved during the budget session?
Do you know when that was?
Just this last February. Maybe it was a separate.
So, the executive summary, I have it here. I can't remember when it came out. It was January 7th. And no, we have not gotten, a specific word on whether they're gonna do that. So even if they approve it now, it could be a few months from now and it takes effect. I know from working for the state, I wait till it's in writing on my desk and I see it with my eyes. So, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully that will have words.
Yeah, okay. So any other questions for Heidi outside of the salaries and question?
I can address a couple other line items
Okay.
as well. As far as advertising, I just asked for a little increase there. We did a newspaper ad for flu clinics last year, which was almost $300, and that was our whole budget. I just asked for a little bit of increase because we might do some of those yard signs that you see. They're like $88 off Amazon, but so a little more cost effective, although a lot of people do look at the newspaper. Some other items are probably one of the bigger small items, I guess, was the maintenance agreement, equipment repair. I found I didn't have a budget for that at all. So it was $0, and I'm requesting $1,500. It's just necessary to cover annual costs for our alarm system, Comtronics, or Pi Barker is what they go by. It includes the yearly contract and maintenance.
as well as the recalibration of our temperature monitoring. And so what they, basically, we have to maintain that cold chain for our vaccine, very, very expensive vaccine. Has to be within a certain temperature range. It's hooked up to these devices that will alarm and start calling our phones. If it's out of range, we need to come in immediately and take care of it. So that contract is, I believe, about $1,770 a year. And we had 2 call outs on it for them to come fix. The call outs cost about $250 each, so we had 2 of those. And then our calibration, we call them data loggers that are hooked up to the refrigerators. They need recalibrated every 2 years. And we have to pay to ship them in, and they get that recalibrated, I believe, at about $120 a piece. We did most of them this last year, so we'll only have a few this year that are due. So that's the request. It's not the full amount because our public health readiness grant, they have agreed to take on $500 of that cost because it's in their deliverables to help maintain that cold chain. So that's where the $1,500 request. Postage and freight, I asked for a little increase, we had none. We do typically, we have shipped penicillin to other counties, there's a penicillin shortage. And so if other counties are needing it, we have to ship that to them. We've shipped supplies. If we have short dated supplies and another county says, yeah, we'll take them, we ship them off. I think our shipping cost totaled about $615. 400 of that was reimbursable to us. So I didn't count that as part of the $200 cost. So there's that. And then gas, oil, diesel, garage probably goes without explanation. We had 800, I just asked for a $200 increase there. That was on April 30th. We didn't have much left for gas this year, but so as far as those smaller items go, I tried to decrease some other categories to offset. So it kind of almost broke even there, just because I saw some categories that we maybe didn't utilize. And you'll see some line items that weren't really utilized, like our uniforms, some equipment, and things like that. I just asked for the same amount there because I'd like to maintain those. Those costs we were able to absorb through that public health infrastructure grant. So, for example, we had a new EHR come out, electronic health record, which is great. They had us do digital check-in and all this, but they don't give us the extra equipment to be able to do that. They just give us the electronic health record. So we were able to purchase a lot of that equipment through that grant. Some uniforms through that grant. Training through that grant. So I kind of kept those categories the same because that grant will expire next year.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
yeah. And to address the largest request, I guess, was the immunization services. And that was a $20,000 increase. It's due to several factors that we have an expanded population now here in the county. And regardless of personal views, there's a lot of people in the community that appreciate being able to come to public health and get their immunizations rather than the pharmacy. We hear a lot that our services are personal and we take good care of them. And the rising cost of vaccines too, as well.
Is that just walk-in or do folks schedule those appointments?
Both.
Okay.
So we did just a little side note, restructuring kind of our planning services. So now we can handle a lot more walk-ins.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's working out great. There's been some recent, yes.
This immunization is actually offset, so the revenue side went from 165 to 195, so it is offset.
Yes, and that's the thing about the immunization services. It is our probably largest revenue that we have, so I'm able to offset that. With a few changes in recommendations, we had a couple vaccines that were previously recommended at 65 years old, now they're at 50. So we opened up a whole nother demographic to be able to offer them to. Also, we're running a kind of a thin line right now. It's the recommendation from the state that we keep 3 months of vaccine on hand. That's just in case something happens, we should be prepared for that. We kind of run month to month right now. So that's kind of how we've been squeaking by. In particular, our shingles vaccine is a popular one, and we've been having to tell people to wait 2 months because we have 10, we're basically rationing it. It's like, we have 10 doses available this month and that is it. And so we either refer people out to pharmacies and then there's other people who will just wait and come get it from us, but we're asking them to wait 1 to 2 months to get it because we've already scheduled all that's out. So just that little extra cushion is nice to be able, when somebody walks in, like, you guys really like this vaccine, to be able to give it to them. So, also on the last note, we have seen an increase in stem cell transplant, members of the community. And so basically they have to come start from scratch and get all their childhood vaccines. We've had about 8 of those clients this year. And so that is, a pretty big cost to them. It can be up to 12 different vaccines for them rounds. So that means like 36 to 45 shots that they're having to come get. So they come see us about 10 times a year for their vaccines. And
Interesting.
yeah, so that's kind of some things.
Yeah.
So that's some things that are really affecting that landscape of being able to get the vaccines. And so when I was looking at asking for the increases, just kind of going back to the previous year, the 24, 25, kind of what we had to give us a little extra cushion.
Beyond, the question on the state nurse, so again, excluding benefits and salaries, were there any other questions? Did you feel like we can move forward with approving everything else?
So our revenues offset the additional expenses on the vaccines, correct, Kelly?
Yeah, and then if I could make one extra note about the revenue projection. I just found this out last week. And it's not a big decrease, but on the LT 101, so those are Medicaid assessments that we provide. We currently get paid $120 per assessment. And they had redone an MOU, the state with Medicaid, to say that we were gonna get an increase in what they reimburse us, which they told us was $185.05. They just went the end of April to do the invoices and found out that that's not actually what we're getting reimbursed. And they don't have a solid number, but it's somewhere from 142 to 168. So it's still gonna increase, just not as much as we hoped, so. Okay. So probably an overestimate by $6,000 to $10,000. But yeah. And that
Madam Chair, I move approval without benefits and salaries.
I'm second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Great. Thank you, Heidi. Oh, we appreciate all the information. It's nice to be able to have these conversations once a year and just hear how it's going over there in a little more detail. So yeah, super interesting. All right, let's crank through a couple more here. Jesse, emergency management.
Thanks, Commissioners. Jesse, Emergency Management. I appreciate the time. Just want to go over a couple of things that were within on my budget outside of obviously the solid insurance that we talked about. Particularly talking about some advertisements. Some of the public outreach and alerting system, along with the newly established, as we're working through these evacuation zone creations. Definitely want to push that out to the public and do some public advertising on the fact that we do have these pre-established zones so that the public's aware of them. And so I asked for an increase in the budget for some advertising to get that information out there. Also, we'll skip through the the travel and meals real quick. We'll get to that at the end there. Communications, equipment, just some of the costs have gone up for that, for some of the connectors, power cords, cabling, and things like that. Also some office supplies. The office supplies asked for a little increase in there just to help cover some of the costs for the Ready, Set, Go flyers that we want to publish. We're waiting for these new zones to be established so that we can put that all onto one document. The idea is that if we have an evacuation, then we will have cards that are pre-printed with a QR code for people to scan to go to our evacuation zones and to the county's website to be able to get the information that they need so that hopefully it will reduce the call volume into the 911 dispatch center. We're also going to do some door hangers also so that if somebody's not home and they're in evacuation zones, depending on who we're sending out there, we can have those and put those up right away. So that'll help cover some of the costs related to both those cards that we're talking about and door hangers to get that out to the public if we do have evacuations coming in the future. And once we get those printed, they're as good as long as we have them. So that was the cost there. Other changes. We do have the county ID card system along with the associated supplies and some of the elective emergency management expenses. So, we've been expanding the use of people that are using that ID card system. And so just covering some of those supplies. For example, we do have the elections that are coming up, so there will be additional costs for that. Those supplies, we do provide ID cards to all of the election workers to ensure that the public is aware of who the workers are. And so we print cards for them. And then the biggest question and ask is just restoring funding to my mileage, travel, meals, and lodging. That also includes fuel that's in my budget. So, that's where that cost comes from. We are expecting that with the upcoming grant, it's almost completely approved now. With the Holstein Fire grant that we have, we're going to be mapping that in this next year. Once that gets mapped, then we have to ground truth all of those. So that will require time, mileage to go out there and ground truth whatever is identified as Holstein fires to ensure that they are actually Holstein fires. There will be some costs associated with that, and also some coordinating costs associated with meetings. A lot of times we do meet in Zoom, but sometimes we do have to meet in person. We are coordinating, as a reminder, with Johnson County and with Campbell County on that grant together. And so it does require us to meet on a regular basis to help iron out the details and then get those contracts going. And we do expect that to be really hitting the ground here shortly. Some of that cost is reimbursable depending on what the activity is. And so, like I said, we have currently the State Emergency Managers Conference that I attend twice a year. That's wherever they decide that the state decides that we want. That's where some of that cost is associated with that also. And in the prior years before, just the last time that we had that in the 24-25 budget, it was also budgeted for the same amount of $10,000. And I actually only spent less than $5,000. So I do try my best to make sure that I'm aware of the public's funds and try to limit the spending when possible. But depending on emergencies, other activities and things like that, grant requirements, I can't always predict how much travel is going to be necessary depending on what's going on. So I'm asking for that to be returned. Looking at compared to the 24-25 budget, typically I return about $12,000 less than what's actually budgeted. So that really equates to about 15% of my overall salary and benefits of budget is returned and not spent. So like I said, I do try to ensure that I'm careful with those funds. I do want to mention that emergency management itself represents less than half of 1% of the county's total budget. So yet I support every department and the public during emergencies. The last cycle, the budget was reduced by 17%, which is greater than the county overall budget average. So this year alone, I worked to secure $185,000 in Homeland Security grants for across multiple agencies. We are also receiving $49,200 in EMPG grant funding, which covers my salaries and benefits and travel expenses. So you will be actually seeing that coming up here in the next couple of commissioner meetings. We finally got those final documents sent to us and signed from the state AG's office. So you will see it on your desk here very shortly. I also got $35,000 in funds to help with the portable weather stations for the Elkburn SCAR, over $12,000 in election security grant funding. Also, $4,300 for the explosives detection canine program, and over $8,000 for that ID card system that we were talking about to help replace the printer and some other supplies. And so all of these support preparedness, communication, security, emergency response, weather monitoring, integration. We also, my office also helps with specialized capabilities, including exercises, integrated coordination, continued support of the explosives detection program, and the Wyoming Regional Emergency Response Team. So the county's contribution for emergency management, if this budget is approved as it is, would be $7,000. And in comparison, when you put all those grants together, I've helped to secure over $293,000 in grant funds this last year, which represents a 3-to-1 return in the county's investments into the program. So for a very small portion of the budget, emergency management helps to bring substantial outside funding to Sheridan County, supports all county departments during emergencies, reduces liability exposure, and helps protect eligible to ensure that we're eligible for state and federal disaster reimbursements if there is a disaster going forward. So I am happy to answer any questions that you have in my budget requests.
Commissioner Jennings. Yeah, Madam Chair. Jesse, I just wanted to clarify what I heard. Excuse me, on the 8,000 for elected emergency management expense, that increased due to elections. Was that?
The elective emergency management expense?
Yeah.
That includes, yes, it does includes the annual cost for the county ID card system, and then along with the associated supplies. So I do work with elections to ensure that everybody has ID cards. So there is a little bit of a cost increase and the program's increased. So in that budget also helps to support any flood response and preparedness activities. So any unforeseen equipment needs that may take place during some kind of disaster or anything else that it's already budgeted for. So if it's a smaller item, I don't have to come and ask for additional funds for those disasters. Yes.
Great. Any other questions for Jesse, or I would look for a motion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Jesse, so you want your mileage, travel, meals, and lodging back, 10,000 there. I see that in actual 24-25, you spent a little under 5,000 there. What's the reason for the double price of the meal and lodging?
Sure. So as an example, if there is a big disaster that takes place, say in another county or another location, as we brought in emergency managers during the Elk Fire that came here, and those costs were covered by those counties and then later reimbursed by the state, I can do the same. So if there is an incident that takes place, say in another county, I can respond to those counties, get those costs up front, and then those funds would be reimbursed. So it just provides that cushion for emergency response if I'm deployed to another location within the state to do that. Obviously, per policy, if I am to leave the state, I do have to get commissioner's approval to do that, but this is all in state. And then, of course, as Cameron being the supervisor, anytime I'm leaving the county, of course, he's aware of where I am, what I'm doing.
And it did include coal seam work.
Exactly. Yeah. So the coal seam firework that's going to be required this next year. So it's $5 gasoline. Yeah, and I guess I was not aware of this. I guess a lot of other departments separate fuel from their travel and expenses. Is that, it looks like that. This particular line item includes any fuel costs that will be associated with the vehicle.
Great. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would move to approve Jesse's emergency management budget excluding any salary or benefits compensations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Jesse. All right. Last one before lunch. Mark, thanks for hanging in there.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you, Mark Ramber, IT Manager. Since it is 12:30, I'll try to be as brief as I can. Don't have any changes for foreseeable employment, so salary and benefits should be fine there. We would hope to see a cost of living adjustment. Other changes on the budget. The biggest one is software. There's quite an increase there. Most of our large pieces of software, such as Tyler and our Esri for the GIS, they increase 4 to 5% every year. And it's just a software subscription fee that we can't avoid getting away from. Additionally, we moved the sheriff's office to a different upgraded license version for their Office 365 last year, which you guys approved for additional funding for that. So we knew going forward that that would be an additional fund in future years. Additionally, we're asking for a couple of new pieces of software. The sheriff is requesting some software to do mapping of emergency evacuation zones. Would be a live software that if there was an emergency or anything where they needed to evacuate anybody, that it could be a live map that they could view. So that's one new request on the software side.
Like elevators, but worse.
Yes.
Because it's back every year.
Yes. We in IT are requesting a new software piece for $5,000 that would allow us to do software and patch management in a centralized system instead of having to touch every machine to do patch management and update softwares. This would allow us to do everything from one centralized location. We could push maintenance patches out to everybody. So it would be a huge efficiency thing for us, save us a lot of time. So that's the kind of the highlight on increases for software. Our computer supplies and equipment, I'm requesting an additional 1,500 in there to bring that up to 5,000. We're finding with AI recently and new data centers that hardware is getting really expensive and much harder to find. In fact, Dell told us in April to expect 40% increase in everything we buy from them. They said right across the top, they're raising every price 40%. So all new computers, all new servers, hard drives, memory.
Does that take effect?
May 1st. It's already happening.
I gotta buy a new computer, so.
Yeah, everything's getting expensive. So this is the line item that we buy monitors, cables, failed equipment, if a hard drive fails, things like that. That comes out of this line item. So looking for a little bit of an increase there. Continuing education, I requested an additional 1,000 in there. There's a IT security conference and training that I go to every year. And there's a couple of things that I would like to get my staff some additional education and training on specific systems and things that we use. And finally, the hardware computer equipment, actually a little bit less than last year. We've got a lot of things up to date. So not as many requests to replace this year, but $100,000 that would cover our servers and rotational computers that we need to replace this upcoming year.
This is where the extensions computer would go?
Yes.
We're gonna be asking for it?
Yes.
Okay. Would that cover it, or do we need to adjust that?
We probably would have to look at
Okay.
maybe 1,500 additional for a laptop for them.
Okay.
Just because I hadn't planned for that.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, yeah, Mark. What about the security system that the Supreme Court has decided that we need to be, we have to do some more work there, or is that all? Or maybe Cameron might be one wants to chime in on that one as well.
Madam Chair, without going into too many details, that would be covered under the grant.
Totally, we don't worry about that in our.
There would be very little that falls under because most of it is equipment purchase. The maintenance afterwards is very minor.
Thank you.
And if it would be in a future year, not in this year at all.
Okay, thanks.
So would we be okay just adding 1,500 to the equipment? Wherever that most appropriate place would be, just so we can knock it out today, and then you could work with Deb and find the right line item location for it. I don't know if it would be its own line.
Would just be kept per computer.
Yeah, I think we just add to that 848 line item.
So instead of that number being 100,000, it would be 100,000, 1.500.
Right. Yep.
100,000, 1,500. Madam Chair, I move to approve the IT budget with the additional 1,500 on line item 50848, exclusive of salaries and benefits.
Good.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. All right. Holly, if we're back here at 1:45, is that enough time to get your horses moved around?
Yes.
Okay. Let's recess for lunch and return at 1:45. It's like I'm sitting here. Right, great. Thank you, Ida. We are reconvened our special meeting for the budget, and we're kicking it off with full bellies with our county coroner. We didn't want any hangry people, Dr. Bird.
We're gonna need our afternoon nap here. Yeah.
Nothing up on the screen.
Deb, the screen is blank.
The only way to fix it is to shut the apps down and then
Scratch it a little bit while you're doing it.
Yeah. There's some nice words to it. Yeah.
Probably reboot, you think?
it'll take a minute.
Okay.
It's back up on this one. At this point, if you wanted on both, you would have to reboot, but this should be sufficient. So just go with it until we have a first.
Here's one.
Okay.
One will help you go off cycle.
All right, Dr. Bird, the
Okay,
floor is yours.
afternoon.
Noon.
So I'll just go through this real quick and like, I guess we're looking for the highlights. So benefits, I don't think we need a discussion on that. Salaries, I'd like to pause there for a second. What I'm requesting is that, my part-time, deputy be converted over to a full-time. So that'll leave us with 2 full-time, deputy coroners. The third deputy coroner, we did request to be
So-
filled.
Yeah, well, so just on the part-time going to full-time, we're gonna have to put benefits in. We're required by law.
Yeah, the deputy wrote a statement out in a memo stating that she wanted to waive that, so she's not requesting the benefits at all.
Well, we'll have to dig in, because, yeah, go ahead.
So the only thing she could waive is the health insurance, dental, eye, and life insurance are contracted for everything.
Sure.
Okay.
So that's whatever she's capable to waive, that's what she's requesting.
Okay, so we'll need to update those other ones then and get a number in there.
Okay. And let's.
They're zeros.
So that's the only highlight of salaries. Purchases, services, that's pretty much standard operation there. We have a little bump there. But membership tuition, our forensic hazardous waste. Dr. Burke, can you speak into the microphone? Sure. Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Lori.
It's all right. Purchase services. So we're not doing any contract labor. Phone service, standard operation expenses. Nothing's changed with that other than everything keeps going up. Medical expenses, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. From went up to the question. 92,000. Court fees, 0. Transportation, building, office, and the only other line item with a little cost is the forensic hazardous waste. We're on contract with them to where we pay, I think, on a quarterly basis based on hazardous waste that we accumulate. Repair and maintenance and utilities, pretty much there's not really a change in that. Pretty much it's the same. Travel, we bumped that up a little bit, and that's just to participate in the Coroners Association and possibly Waco. Supplies, pretty much standard operation, except for we'll go back to the medical equipment and supplies. There's a big bump in that. And we're asking for 130,000. And I'll explain those 2 bumps there. We've been requesting, the X-ray unit, as you know, over the years. With the increase in tariffs, I thought maybe the cost would go up, but called a couple of vendors and they said, no, pretty much the price has been holding the same. So each year that we presented, we were looking at 65,000 for an X-ray unit. We do been using the hospital to go up and get radiographs, but I only take selective cases up there.
Right.
Yeah, and in order to keep it user friendly, because if we had a decomp or something that was a little more, we'd probably lose that relationship.
Yeah, and Dr. Bird, I know, the previous time we had this conversation, the concern was just from a liability perspective, because you're not a medical doctor.
They're just X-rays. I take the X-rays down there now. They'll ask me to look at a case and I'll take films myself. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Professionally, we can take x-rays.
Okay.
And professionally, I can read x-rays to a certain point. Now, if it's a CT, of course not. So when we go to the hospital, I'm asking them what type of films. So I'll ask them to take like a AP or a transitional or a Waters view or, you know, 'cause we're looking for things that we need to keep on file for our records, you know. Instead of driving all the way up to the medical examiner's office, that would require 2 people to go up there. You get into hours again, and depending on their schedule, we might be able to get x-rays up there and not, you know. They've been very receptive to us. We're probably one of the corner offices that we kind of got. Well, they like us. And so not all the corners in Wyoming are going to get access to the medical examiner's office that they're up in this area. So we're one of the select or one of the ones. And so, yeah, it's not a liability thing because we're x-rays. It's a matter of, you know, if you have a film and I'm not going to, if I can't interpret it correctly, I'm going to consult with somebody to interpret it for me. You know, now the hospital won't do that. I made it very clear. They'll take the films for us and we'll put it on a disc. And if I need more interpretation, especially for the reporting aspect, is I'll give it to the pathologist and let him read the films.
So right now, Dr. Bird, with that amount that you're paying for x-rays and so on, would that be shown under medical expense? Because under the line where you have the $130,000, there's only $6,800 there. So would that be under medical expenses right now on your budget? So on the actual expenses, it shows medical expenses of $49,296. Would that be where the x-rays that you're paying for would be right now? Is under that?
I think so. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We've submitted those each time
okay.
When you did the warrant review. So.
Okay.
And here's the thing is you have to look at the case itself and assess, do you need films or do you not need films? Gunshot wounds, most definitely. Because we need to know if the projectile's still in the deceased. And if it is, then we go up to autopsy. Most of the time we're on the scene, we can usually figure it out, whether that's, you know, in the deceased or not in the deceased. So another requirement would be decoms. Oh, yeah. And of course, I would not take a decomp up to the hospital. You know, it's just not user friendly. And those who've been around decoms, pretty much aren't around very long.
So how many a month are we doing? I don't.
You know, it just depends on the cases, you know. Accidents, motor vehicle accidents, cases, yes, we want x-rays. Now, pathologists might not want, they might not want to take them. But for our files, our medical, legal, we have to have something in case somebody calls us out on it, say, did you take films? We'll have them as a reference, so.
So 1 to 3 times a month?
Yeah, we could, yeah, pretty much is. Well, here's an example. We're at eight suicides this year. I would do films on all 8 of those if we had a machine. So.
Yeah, Dr. Bird.
Yes.
What's the lifespan of, I see on this that you're looking at 2 different machines. One is the rapid toxicology. And
No, that's a different,
an X-ray machine.
Yeah, the X-ray machine's kind of separate. I'll stick my neck. I'll say maybe 5 to 10 years, how you take care of it. Technology changes like instantly, and so we're moving from a digital to AI, so, I don't know where AI is gonna go with this, right now we'll stay with the digital, use it as a reference. But I'll say good 5 years, maybe 10 years. I think the only thing is you would have to update the software, but if you're gonna update the software, you might as well update the machine too. And I'll only use that example as we've been using medical examiner office at Billings, and they replaced their X-ray unit. So we've been going up there for the last almost 4 years. And so, but they were having some issues with it in the beginning. So, you get the right machine, take good care of it, you can get some longevity out of it. I got a tripod X-ray machine I've had for 20 years, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of you'd mentioned the 8 suicides, and that if you had an X-ray machine, you would have used it. But it wasn't required, so those bodies weren't taken to the hospital for X-rays.
Sometimes, in those 8, I told myself maybe I should have taken 1 up there, maybe 2, just to have the X-rays. And that's for imaging to show the entrance wound and the exit wound. So.
Yeah, I guess my point is, I know if you had it, you'd use it all the time.
Exactly.
But how much is it really necessary? And I think about the tox machine, the rapid tox, and I appreciate why that's needed, but it will take us 6.5 years to pay for it in savings, and then we're right about the point where it's obsolete.
Yeah.
The software.
You're talking tox, but anyways, let's stay on point with the X-ray machine. The X-ray machine will define itself. The simple reason is, if it turns out to become a legal court case, and its attorney asks, why didn't you take X-rays? What am I supposed to tell him? Okay, we couldn't afford the X-ray unit. So look at it for long-term as a preventive measure, that we can get into that situation. But like I said, it's one way or another, if I need X-rays, I will either go all the way up to the medical examiner's office or over to the hospital. But if it's a decomp, the decomps I can take to the medical examiners, I'm beta with, they're used to it. They don't like them, but they will take the X-rays from them. But it will require 2 people to go up there to do that. So, you save a little money here, but then you end up paying more money for the transportation.
I just, when the Toyota works, why do we need the Cadillac, I guess is my.
And that's
I'm just looking at the 2021, 22 budget, we were at, the coroner's office was at 158,000.
Mhm.
Then it went to 194,000 in 22, 23. Then it went to 240 in 23, 24. And now we're at almost 500,000. And I just don't know when, what has changed that much? And when does the spending slow down a little bit? Because it has blown up, and we're gonna be over budget on salary this year.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, when does the science stop? And it doesn't get cheaper. And, and what are the rules, for medical legal death investigation? Are you applying all those rules? Now, you see in there, our supplies, our expenditure, body bags, DNA cards. DNA cards are really expensive, between $300, $500 when you only get 25 of them. So the science, if you're going to do it right, it's expensive. I don't know long term if you're going to save money with the X-ray unit. I think with the tox unit, the one we're asking for, it'll save in time if you utilize it right. Expenditures are the chemicals that you have to use for the different tests. That's what it is. The machine doesn't seem to be that expensive, but when you have to run the test, it's the chemicals that you're paying for. So what we're looking at with a tox machine is doing a lot of these toxins in-house. And so instead of using the toxicology lab and sending it there, and you see in the warrants, what our tox bills are. So I'm not saying it's something that we definitely need, but it's user friendly. I mean, this can be really user friendly, and long term, you'll see some savings somewhere. So.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Jennings, Dr. Bird. If you were to put a priority on one of these machines over the other, which would you say is most important?
Well, that's a tough one because I look at what the tox machine can do. I mean, it can self-serve us, but it can self-serve everybody else too. And the thing is about it is we could probably get results within 3 to 4 hours. So I guarantee you other people will be inquiring if they could utilize it. So let's take your Department of Justice, your urine program. We could run those samples, save you $175,000. So that's just a thought. Other agencies, if they need to do a blood draw, they need samples, we could run that test. Because I asked the vendor, what tests can we do besides what we could do? And he told us that we could do a variety of things. So this machine has a multiple factor of things that it can do by the service. Now I have a choice. I'll take the X-ray. I'll take the X-ray machine over the tox machine. Because we can always come back sometime later, year after year, and revisit the tox machine. We can always send our tox, to the lab. So, yeah, if I had a choice between the two, I would take the X-ray again.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I certainly, Dr. Bird, I certainly would be interested in some information on possibly what revenue could be for the tox machine. Some numbers on that versus the expense of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you're taking blood samples or doing samples and you're running them for people. And, instead of sending them to the state and waiting 6 months, maybe a year, you might be able to get an answer in 3 to 4 hours. So that was the attraction. Last year I looked at the machine. This year I looked at the machine. Laramie County has one. So if you want to table it and say, let's see how Laramie County does with theirs for a year, I'm fine with that too. But I'll take the X-ray machine over the tox machine.
So how much is just, for some reason, I don't see a quote on how much just the X-ray.
It's in there. It's 65 and 55.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on which one. Yeah, and I
Okay.
put it on 60.
55 for the X-ray and 65 for the.
Okay, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, those are the highlights. of,
Right.
What board is off.
Okay. Did your request to take Brooke full-time, did you want that approval today? Or I guess maybe our next round of meetings in June, the first week of June? It's a couple
However,
weeks
if you
away.
want to do it, commissioners, I leave it up to you. I did ask HR to kind of give me a template of how that snapshot would look.
Mhm.
So
I wasn't sure how, critical it was for her to be able to.
I'll leave it in your hands. Because we did take me 2 deputy coroner slots and convert it to one full-time deputy coroner slot. I'm not sure the numbers I can tell you off the top of my head, but they would kind of offset each other overall, so. But number 7, if you want to take it.
Yeah, we would just need, well, maybe we wait to get the numbers on benefits.
Sure.
So we'll get
Yeah.
with Kenny and
HR has that, that's
see what that looks like. Okay.
a snapshot.
Okay. Just knowing what we know about which ones we can waive and then which ones she's required to have.
Sure.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Back on the tox machine. I really personally, I would like to see us wait a year on the tox machine, get some numbers on we could possibly, revenue versus expenditures on that. I mean, going forward, I can see where the possibility of a lawsuit could happen. That does make me nervous, so, I'd like to see us reduce from 130 minus the 65 from tax machine.
No, that's fine.
And see what it
And,
looks like next year.
I can wait and get you more data from Laramie County as they proceed with using it and see what hiccups they have with it. So,
I guess I'll make a motion to reduce the medical equipment supplies. Does that make that?
Go ahead, Holly. I'll let you.
Just-
Sorry. Well, I wanted to get some, more information on the X-ray machine too. I don't know if I'd be ready to approve that today, but I'll let you make your motion.
So I will make the motion to decrease medical equipment supplies to 65,000. Revisit it next year.
thanks. So if you go back to when I first presented the X-ray machine, we should have all that material on all the vendors that we submitted on
Okay.
the different prices on there. The 65 is the high end.
The 65, I'm sorry, did I get that wrong? Was it 65? I thought was the rapid testing.
Rapid testing is 65 too, so. So the X-ray machine, the range for the X-ray machine is 55 to 65.
Oh, okay.
Last time I presented, it was 65, so.
Okay, I was making a motion to reduce for the
Sure.
tox machine.
Thank you.
I guess we need a second in order.
Was that a second?
Yes.
Okay.
For conversation, I don't see it. And I'm not lost, I'm down here, I'm in the right column, but all I'm seeing is X-ray unit 55 to 65.
No, 55,000 for X-ray and 65 for rapid tox.
Oh, okay.
Those little lines are little.
I
Okay,
see what's
so
going on
we
there.
have a motion and a second for that particular line for medical equipment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Is that just for more information?
Yeah, well, I just have real trouble taking the budget from 345,000 to 478,000. I mean, I just have, when we know I want to see where we're at total wise before we make that kind of expenditure, and I guess I'd like to see, I guess I'd like to see bids. And maybe I have them somewhere and I don't remember where they are, maybe
Commission said
we
when
could get them resubmitted.
I first submitted those to you, I gave you 4 bids.
Okay.
4 different vendors on that.
All right,
You should have that on file somewhere.
okay,
If you don't, I can make copies for you.
yeah, okay, thank
And
you.
there, any other specific questions we want to, I guess, update the spreadsheet? Especially the PR tab with the benefits information to get Brooke full-time.
Sure,
And then we can revisit this
sure.
Yeah.
June 2nd, 3rd, or whenever
Yes.
that first week.
I just wanted to be able to double check with you that motion failed.
Correct.
So no changes.
No changes. not at this point. We just wanted more information. There may be changes on the first week of June.
So you need changes for, meaning for the position.
Yep,
But,
yep. I think that was it. We're gonna do some digging on the x-ray information that you
Sure.
gave us previously.
And if you don't have it, just let me know.
Okay.
I have a folder here.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and Dr. Bird, how current are those quotes with the?
Actually, when I knew we were coming to budget, I actually called one of the vendors that's how I was able to find out whether there was an increase in it. He
Yeah.
said, even though the tariffs and everything was an increase with the x-ray machines, they kind of held their price, so.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Jennings.
Dr. Bird, Commissioner Wright brings up a good point. It might be worthwhile to get some new updated bids since that's been a year
I can do that
from,
if that's what you wish.
Yeah.
Uh,
just in
I can
case.
reach out to them and
See if they'll send you the
see what their
information.
new quotes are out there. So, sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Doesn't look like it.
All right.
What's that? Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
All right, Parks and Rec.
Just.
Okay.
real quick, got a little information that how this rated by capitals. Wyoming is number 2 as far as suicides in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sad.
Fuel prices.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are not Ted and Alex. I mean, we didn't know that. Sorry.
So overall, we're not requesting any change in our budget from the last adopted year. We have, over the last 3 years, as a Parks and Rec board, decreased our budget by about 45%. 3 years ago, we were at 60,000 for a budget. And this year, we're at the 33. Can't see that. I think your numbers are the same as what I sent, so. Most of the expenses we're proposing are the same for the different areas. We are in the process right now of getting bids for the Story Park lawn mowing. There's a potential that that number will go down. But we don't have a finalized contract on that yet. Any questions?
Any questions for Lynn and Rob? Commissioner Arce?
Yes, Madam Chair. I did not see anything for brush hog expenses at 3 poles. I didn't see anything for fire mitigation at the Sportsman's Club. Or what about the sportsmen? Are they gonna cover that or?
So the brush hog at 3 pools, a lot of times that is handled by that pluck committee out there. Sometimes they'll ask for some help with expenses. In the past few years, they have not. So where they get,
Yeah, I think our last discussion was maybe if you guys could pay for something up front and then we would reimburse you through our skate trails grant. But we've been sometimes able to find some folks to just volunteer their time and equipment for it. So I don't have a formal request or a dollar amount at this point, Commissioner Arce.
It's gonna be fire here. That's why I'm asking these questions up front and try to get get it covered, the expenses of it covered somehow or another. It's, I mean, it's gonna be pretty critical that we get this done.
So with the Sportsman's Association, they have been at our meeting. They're pretty consistent about coming to our meeting. They have been meeting with Chris Thomas, the county's fire board marshal. And we do have a board member that is attending those meetings. They're just working on some plans. There's not a finalized plan, so there's no proposed expenses yet. If we end up with something that we can't shift dollars in our budget, then we unfortunately would have to come back and request more. But right now, there's not enough information to dump a number into a budget and say this is what we need because we don't know right now. Some of the work will be able to be done, working with Road and Bridge. Ken has been part of those discussions at our board meetings as well about potentially those guys can take some equipment out there and do some work that way too. So It is conversation we're having, but there's no proposed expenses yet. If we felt like it, we could just, there's no benefits and salaries in this baby.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank
I
you.
move to
Right.
approve the park and recreation budget. Flat out, period, in stop.
And I think that we ought to recognize Ted and Alex for their outstanding presentation.
We'll let them know. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Still got to vote.
Oh, sorry, I was busy texting the chair. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries.
You're up, good shot.
Yeah. Nathan, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all doing today?
Good. All right, I gotcha.
Okay. We have the 300,000 annually that you all provide to us to help cover Title 25 services. We are not proposing or asking for any change to that dollar amount. Asked to keep it the same. I think over this, from the previous period where I reported to you our data, we've seen about with our interventions with Dr. Kinney and what we've been doing in our emergency department as we continue to grow our empath unit. We've actually seen about a 24% decline in Title 25 placements in our emergency department through those interventions.
Nice.
So hopefully you're seeing some of that through court costs and some of that savings.
Not quite yet.
Yeah, but at least we're not growing it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to entertain any questions or concerns around.
No questions or concerns here. How's the construction on the empath, if I can sway?
Yes. Excellent. Yeah, it's going really well. We expect the clinic portion for our outpatient patients to start seeing patients in July.
Okay.
And then we are anticipating opening and begin to see inpatients in November.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a big deal. All right, any other questions?
I'm sure I move that we approve the same amount to the hospital as in the past.
Second.
Motion a second, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thanks.
I'll let Robin,
Thanks.
so I beat their time.
Thanks. Madam Chair,
Yes,
could I just offer some information?
please.
Diana mentioned earlier in her presentation about Title 25 bills that run through our office. So this can be very confusing. I'd like to just explain. The hospital receives, most all the patients, either law enforcement or the ambulance, or somebody brings them to the ER and they do an evaluation. And as soon as they can, they try to get an appropriate placement for that individual. The vast majority of the time, that's WBI. The invoices that come to our office that I approve payment on are Sheridan County residents who go directly to WBI. They do not go at the Sheridan Hospital emergency room. And so this is the distinction that we've worked out over time. If Sheridan Memorial transfers to WBI, and that's the language that Diana used, so I wanted to clarify that. Sheridan Memorial will pick that up as part of their comprehensive care that you just approved the payment for. So we're often just very surprised when an invoice hits my desk from WBI because we've had no involvement in that case. That would be a Natrona County Title 25 case. I don't handle that. And I just see a bill one day, 3 or 4 months down the road. And we do our due diligence to verify that it meets the statutory requirements that we pay. But that's the distinction. And so, when Diane has asked, well, how much do you need? We have no idea. We could get a half dozen would completely blow our budget.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty pricey. They're usually in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000 for a single patient. So just FYI.
Yeah, thank you.
And now then hopefully with the empath unit at the hospital, then they'll be able to take care of a lot of those things, right? Supposedly.
Well, I mean, I'll know how to answer that when I see it.
Right.
We've all heard the presentations. I don't know how it's actually gonna work on the ground. But if somebody takes themselves to Natrona County, the impact unit will have no bearing because
Right,
they will
right.
get bypassed. The
Right.
services here would have been bypassed.
Correct.
Hello. Hi.
The hospital went quick.
Well, so fast.
Oh, man.
I thought I was giving you plenty of time. I'm sorry. We just finished talking about Title 25, so you walked in just at the right time.
Where do we go?
Just here at the podium, if you want to take turns, I don't know who you want to go first. Have this lovely table that no one's wanted to use. I really like the podium.
Oh, man. Can start with detentions.
Which do you want to hit
We'll
first?
start with the sheriff.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, Levi Dominguez, Sheridan County Sheriff, here to present our budget request for fiscal year 26-27. I believe you've got everything within there, and we can just, I guess we'll start with the expenditures. And looking down. When we initially looked at overtime, down in overtime and overtime SROs, we haven't really had much overtime. And so I think it's been zeros in the past, but I think you may have seen the letter that I provided with the staffing crisis that we're in, not being able to fill positions over the last year. Our staff in the patrol side has had to see some overtime. And so looking at what we are, I thought it'd be best to budget for some overtime in the event that we need to use it, as we've already used, a little over $7,000 of overtime within this fiscal year for our patrol staff, and then just under 4,000 so far within our SROs. And so moving on. And then if we move into the line item of the telephone, we've primarily budgeted for $19,000 a year for that, increased that to $30,000. And if you recall, I'd probably say it was about a month ago or a few weeks ago, this was that project that we had with under the cap tax that was supposed to be within the cap tax paid through to update all of our phone system and the phone recording system within the sheriff's office. And because of how Range was billing or invoicing the county, it wasn't able to be billed or invoiced at a one-time lump sum. And so it's being billed monthly. And so we saw an increase in our monthly invoices through Range for our telephone. And so that's the reason why that has an increase for that, is to pay for that. And so once the equipment and everything is paid for, then that will be reduced. And then if you go down to the water, sewer, and garbage, looking at that, just running numbers and looking at that, it appears that we have just got an increase of $100 just due to an increase in monthly billing. And so just making sure that we're within our budget. So not a huge increase there, but just knowing that, looking at what our invoice, our bills, our monthly statements have been over the. And then when we go down to office supplies and printing, increasing that by $500. And that's just due to the rising cost that we contract with a shredding company. We try, the priority is to shred documents in-house, but sometimes that always cannot be done. We have a shredder, but sometimes through large cases or things that we need to shred that, it's just, it would, sitting there, try to shred that, for one of our staff members at the shredder to do that. So the shredding costs have gone up a little bit. And then some of the other office supplies and printing. So looking at increasing that by $500. And then down to janitorial supplies, we're a little over budget already this year for that, and that's just due to the increased cost of supplies and things like that. So looking to increase that by $200 for this upcoming fiscal year. And if you look just below that, we were able to decrease our clothing and uniform budget by $1,000, and that's due to we don't have anticipated body armor that's going to be expiring this upcoming fiscal year, or less than what we've had in the previous years, and so we're able to reduce our clothing and uniform budget by $1,000 because of that. No need for as much of the body armor that's going to be expiring. And then miscellaneous law enforcement, looking at increasing that by $1,000, and that's because of our TASER practice cartridges for the annual recertification. Those have gone up, the TASER practice cartridges, and so we have to purchase for our deputies, upwards of 40 to 60 a year for them to recertify, and so those costs have gone up, and so looking at increasing that as well. With that being said, that's basically what our line item for our expenditures are, looking at those within the sheriff, the patrol budget increases. Do you have any questions for me as it relates to the sheriff budget?
Levi, and I appreciate this letter and the numbers that you put together. Looking for that 15% increase for patrol and detention, starting patrol deputy to 62.8 and a detention deputy at 59.8, which is still below where the VA is.
Yeah, when you look at that, so if we want to jump into that, I'm not asking for our office to be paying more than what other agencies that are surrounding our areas that we're competing for candidates. What I'm asking is for us to be close to that or just under, so we can be somewhat competitive to attract the same quality of candidates that they're attracting. I met with the police department this morning. We have meetings every 2 weeks, and they've got testing that they're coming up next week, that they're able to test a handful of candidates for their positions, and we don't have any quality candidates that are coming through right now that we're able to test. And so when you look at that, what our current, we're currently offering a starting wage with no experience of just over 54,000. Johnson County's just right under 67,000 a year for no experience. Campbell County's just under 66,000. The Sheridan Police Department's just going to be at 67,000 a year. The VA is at 71,000. The Highway Patrol is just a little over 68,000. So $12,000 to $14,000 a year difference is what we are starting our deputies out with no experience versus what other agencies are starting their officers out with no experience. And that's currently, I don't know what they're going to be doing this year with their budget, if they're gonna be, increasing their starting salary, which we know highway patrol more than likely is, we know other things. And that doesn't also take into account that all of those agencies offer a $2 an hour shift differential for working nights, weekends, holiday, those types of things that we don't offer here at the county. And so, again, I'm not asking for us to be the leader and the pioneer and leading the way and paying more than those other agencies. But I think if with our culture and our work environment and people want to come and work for the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office, if we can find a place that's reasonable for them to be able to do it and make a living, I think that's what we need to look at doing. That being said, when you look at increasing that starting wage by 15% to get us, up there close, that creates a domino effect. And so it's roughly about an $8,400 a year difference. And so if we don't increase, well, I'm not asking for us to increase every sworn patrol and detention deputy's salary by 15%, but if we don't, that domino effect, if we don't, increase everybody else's salary by somewhat. So it's roughly just right around $4 an hour. If we don't do that for every sworn deputy patrol and detention, what happens is we have somebody who was just hired this last year at that 54,000 and we don't increase them up or even within the last 2 years. And now somebody is going to start making, $8,000 more than them. That's kind of a kick in the gut to the folks that have been with us for a while.
So Levi, I mean, it doesn't look like there's any expectation, of a COLA increase above and beyond that 15%. That's the whole shebang.
Yeah, that would be, that's what I would ask, that would be everything. What I would ask is that while I'd be asking that for our sworn staff, our civilian staff, I hope that the county commissioners take into effect some sort of COLA, not only for the sheriff's office civilian staff, but all county employees and whatever that is, and look at, put forth that increase to all county employees, including the civilian staff within the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office. So our controllers, our office administrators, Scott and those folks, that we do offer them a COLA as well. So while I was really focusing on our sworn patrol and detention, because we're having that.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yep.
Distinction. I mean, Scott aside.
Yep.
Okay, any questions for Levi, Commissioner Arce?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Sheriff Dominguez,
I don't think you're turned on.
oh, I guess I'm not. You're down 2 patrol officers right now.
Currently down to 3 with the frozen position that was put into a place last fiscal year. So 3, with that frozen position. And then we're down 3 or 4 in detention. And those positions, we've struggled. We haven't been able to fill those positions all year.
And so I guess what my point is your coverage, law enforcement, the protection of citizens, that's struggling, is that not correct?
That is correct, yeah. When we're looking at, we're struggling because we have a minimum staffing for each shift, day and night shift. And what ends up happening is we have individuals that want to take vacation that they have accrued or holiday time that they've accrued or those things. And we're not able to give them that vacation, or we're moving schedules around, or people are having to come in and work overtime. So that way those individuals can take that vacation.
I guess I've always considered law enforcement to be just about the #1 essential service
Yeah.
in any form of government. And that's what government's supposed to do, is to actually get behind and support your essential services. So I don't think you have any problems with me here.
Appreciate it. Yeah. It's not something we certainly want to come up and ask. I mean, but it's one of those where at some point we have to rip the Band-Aid off and where we're at and what we've seen. And I appreciate the support from the commissioners and and knowing that, I don't know how much longer we can sustain doing what we're doing. When you look at our overtimes, looking at a projection of increasing by over 200% this current year.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, yeah, just Sheriff, the mental health of some of your folks working way too much overtime, no time, no family time. It's gotta be a big consideration too, so. Absolutely. It adds up.
What was, I was just speaking with someone about first responder mental health. And I'm gonna botch the saying, but it's like 5% training for 95% of the work that they have to do, versus being able to get 95% of the training for 5%. It's just the exposure to just all the things that staff have to handle.
Yeah, I think, when you look at those and you set apart, but I think that the normal individual that's not as a first responder within law enforcement may experience somewheres of up to 1 to 2 critical incidents or a really traumatic incident within their lifetime. And I think first responders tend to experience somewheres up to 6 critical incidents a year, traumatic incidents. And so when you take that over a 15 to 20 year career, the exposure of those traumatic incidents are very outweighing than what the general public were to be exposed to.
Any other questions?
I just had
Yeah.
one more. Madam Chair, Sheriff Dominguez, I see on your fuel, 85,000.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that right now or not?
Yeah, well, so I know, so our fuel budget used to be 65,000 a year. And when we saw a spike in fuel costs back in 2023, I believe, we increased our fuel budget to 100,000. And what we found is that last year, when we had to reduce our budget by 7%, looking at what we were roughly spending on fuel was up right around 85,000 a year. And that was with the high fuel costs. I want to say I'm hopeful, but I'm hopeful that those fuel costs will come down a little bit. And so I am okay at this point at 85,000 because we were at 100,000. We never did get there. But it's something we may have to look at. But again, like when we're looking at what we spent, let's see real quick. We've just spent thus, I think we're right around 60,000 this fiscal year. So we've, within the next month or two of spending 25,000, I think we'll be okay. I hope I don't have to come back and ask for an amendment, but you never know.
Do we, following our previous procedures, do you feel good with just approving everything other than salaries and benefits?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the sheriff's budget without salaries and benefits at this point.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Just so you know, that's what we've done with everybody.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out where we're at financially after we get the other budgets done before we can go look at salaries.
Sure.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
For Scott.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott. It's just always good to see you.
Well, why don't we move into the detention center expenditures? And we'll go that route initially here. Yeah. I'll have Lieutenant Gibbons, our jail administrator, come up and kind of walk you through some of that, and then I can follow up with any questions as well.
Well, Commissioners, Madam Chair. Looking at the detention budget, We try to keep it as flat as possible. We decreased down to insurance and premium bonds. We decreased a little bit. We have enough notaries in the detention center. We don't need any more of those right now. I had to ask for a little bit more in electrical and gas because we average about $4,300 a month. And so that's about 52,000, but because it fluctuates so much, I just went for 55 just to give us a little wiggle room. We went down about $5,000. As you can see, we haven't spent as much money in the mile and travel and meals. We did the same thing with continuing education because hopefully we can get some new people started, and that's just to the academy and back. So it makes it pretty simple. We don't have the big budget expenditures to send people places. Medical expense for prisoners. In our contract with our medical provider, it's 5% CPI. That's a fixed cost. I was able to negotiate with them and get that down to 3.5, but I didn't factor that in that number because I never know with medical and you get one inmate with big issues that can destroy that budget. So I just left it at that 5, but I can get you a number, the 3.5 if you want me to, but I was able to negotiate to get our contract lower this year than expected. And then our boarding prisoner budget, which is pretty much our inmate meal budget, they quoted me at a 3.9% CPI increase for the inmate food. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Arzu.
Sure. I find it interesting that it costs us more money for medical and drugs than it does to actually board a prisoner. In fact, that's the majority of your budget. And I'm having a hard time getting my head around how come this is all a little bit different than what it should be. I'm not going to get out on a soapbox here at this point, but I guess what I'm saying is I think you guys are doing a heck of a good job down there with very little resources as far as personnel is concerned. And I think that the emphasis needs to go back that direction rather than the direction it's headed right now.
Yeah,
I
Commissioner
really
Arzu.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't, well, I know that you guys shop around every year for providers for these services, and you don't take that for granted.
The boarding prisoners line item is kind of like the catch-all line item. That's just kind of what's called. But we use that budget for food. We use it for getting clothes for inmates and all that other stuff. So it's not just like inmate food doesn't just come out of boarding prisoners too. I want to say what was our number for inmate per?
Yeah, I was going to speak to that real quick. Yeah. So I think I've shared this number with you, and we just ran the number again, just to make sure where we're at. But to provide medical for an inmate, it's for Sheridan County, we're sitting at $18.55 per day per inmate is what we're providing at medical for inmates. If you look at other counties throughout the state, they're upwards of anywhere. They're above $20 per day per inmate, all the way up to $40 to $50 per day per inmate. And so I think with the services that we provide to those inmates and what our staff is able to provide and our medical provider, I think we're doing a darn good job. And I do, I appreciate Commissioner Arzu saying, yeah, we are doing a good job and we are trying to keep those costs low and our costs are a lot lower than other counties throughout the state.
Well, I think that was kind of part of the conversation the other day, talking about the inmate that had a crazy high medical cost. And you guys for 9 months had been able to find a way to get those costs down. And then, some of those resources dried up the last couple of months. But I mean, if you don't have insurance, I'm sure, that's what makes that cost that.
We just had a meeting with a new pharmacy, so we're shopping. And they said that the doctors we have employed, they do a really good job of being budget efficient with their medication costs. They pick meds that have the same therapeutic value that more expensive meds have, but for a better cost for bang for the buck. So they quoted us, and they're pretty similar to the firms we have now, which speaks pretty good volumes to
we got going on.
Any other questions? We didn't chat about salaries on this one. This would be the similar in your letter included with the patrol deputies as well as detention folks.
Yeah, and I would echo everything you said. When I talk of our sworn staff, that's our detention and patrol deputies. We're just, with our sworn staff, we're in a staffing crisis when we talk about those positions that we're trying to fill on the patrol side. We have, almost double those positions in our jail, and that's kind of where we see, and if you look at that, our overtime budget is a lot higher within the detention staff right now, in the detention center. And so, again, I think getting those wages up and similar, while I just quoted the, patrol difference, within some of those, but most of those other agencies, they're the same. Either they actually sometimes they pay their patrol staff the same as they do their detention staff, but we're right in that same boat of 12 to 14,000 less than what other agencies are paying their detention staff starting out.
So these, okay. I just wanted to, so these numbers are.
Those numbers include the detention as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those three vacancies, so.
Yeah, and we included those on both the detention and patrol. We included those vacancies with that new, at basically a patrol or detention deputy with no experience. But then also, I think the clerk's office, Deb, did a great job too, is then adding if they came with a family of, the highest insurance, so that's all been included in that as well.
So Levi, I'm just curious because the salaries are up for the control room. I'm sorry, I was looking at detention being down from the 25, 26, so 1.8 down to 1.3. But then I didn't see that the control room.
Yeah, it's weird how that gets added in.
Yeah.
We have the same, I think Deb and I, like initially, but it's how they bring that in to the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts on, go ahead.
I would make a motion to accept detention centers budget excluding benefits and salaries to be discussed later.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Should we chat about cap tax now, or are we doing that, or are we doing that at a later
It's on
time?
the schedule for tomorrow, but.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
If the sheriff's unable to attend tomorrow, maybe he can just discuss his portion.
Yeah.
When is that for tomorrow? I apologize. I didn't get that. I thought our meeting was just on today.
Sorry, we pulled all the capital stuff separately for everybody. I don't have that in front of me.
Is it gonna be in the morning or?
Starts at 9 a.m. for number 8.
So.
Yeah, it's
For
gonna
lunch?
be actually number 9. It's middle of the meeting, but if it makes it easier, if everyone's here, he can at least outline what your requests are so you can hear it straight from the sheriff.
Yeah, that works. If you want to do it now, it's great.
Yeah, sure, certainly. I don't want to take any special, take any more time than what you didn't have. I can try to shift schedule.
We don't need to join you back tomorrow if you don't have to be.
So we have a few, capital requests when we look at, if you have that letter in front of you, I think I gave an outline. Might not be in there if you potentially have it in a different.
I think it was. This one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's under the sheriff.
Yep.
Okay.
If you look at number 1, which is, we'll start with the sheriff's office, kind of the patrol capital request. we're requesting a traffic speed and counting detector. This is kind of noted as, it's known as a jammer. And what we've noticed within the last few years is we've had an uptick of traffic complaints or residential areas or neighborhoods that are complaining of speed, lots of traffic in their neighborhood, and to try to meet the needs of the constituents and residents in Sheridan County, we will try to come out and it never fails that when they say there's a lot of speeders at this time, we'll dedicate a patrol deputy for an hour to 2 hours during that time, and we don't see a lot. Or maybe we've deterred that because people are saying, hey, there's deputies in the area. This device can be put up on a telephone pole somewhere discreetly, and what it does is it'll digitally, it counts the traffic that goes by, kind of the high peaks of certain days. It'll take into account the highest speed, the lowest speed, what the average speed is, and the times that is. So it really helps us look at deploying resources efficiently to maybe enforce or patrol those areas at a better time. This also would work great for public works. When you look at road and bridge, when you're looking at doing traffic studies for speed studies, if we have to reduce a speed limit or looking at increasing that. Talking to Ken Mueller, the county engineer, their traffic counter is very old and antiquated. It's the rubber, so they have to go out there multiple times a day when it's set up to make sure that it's the correct distance apart and those types of things. So we can utilize this kind of at a plethora of a road and bridge and the sheriff's office deploying it. It gives out great graphs and things like that. And so Doug has done a great job of kind of looking at. He's got a few different estimates, but the jammer, I think, is what it's called. Seems to be your best bang for your buck and what we need. The city of Sheridan has that same, not the same model, but it's from the same company. They've been very happy with it and allowing for that. So that's just right under $5,000. Any questions?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
No cameras included, right?
No cameras yet. Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Means, this is not an enforcement tool. This is not like when you go on the roads down in Colorado that are toll roads.
Yeah, they're not. They don't take photos of vehicles.
They don't take a picture of your.
All this is doing is just collecting data for us as far as, what we find to happen is we get some phone calls from residents that say, we've got a lot of speeders in this area. Please come out and take care of it. And we ask the questions of, well, when is it? Well, it's, in the morning time, or it's in the afternoon time, or it's in this time. So we'll send deputies out in that area, and we'll spend a lot of time with those deputies being there, but we're not capturing the data that they're capturing. Or a lot of times individuals' perception's reality, right? So what they might perceive as a vehicle going super fast may not be going fast. So we can put this up and deploy it, and then leave it up for a week or 2 weeks, and we can sit down with those residents and say, okay, we do see a problem. We've identified a problem, and it's between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's the high traffic volume. And we've had vehicles go upwards of 10 or 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So we're going to start deploying our resources during that time to have or different things like that, or saying we don't see a problem. There isn't a problem here. We'll still try to get in the area, but so that's what this device is for. But it'll also work for public works. With that, because when you have to do traffic, it counts all of the traffic and the average traffic that comes through certain days and times. And so, when you're looking at speed studies and things like that. So no cameras, no enforcement.
Yeah, go for it.
Only one, or that's what you're gonna move it around, or?
Yeah. So we would get one of these units, and then we could deploy it in areas where we're getting complaints. And I think one is sufficient. Okay. Say that.
Probably thinking about the same place in Downer.
Yeah, Downer is an area. There's a couple other areas that, we've seen.
Listen, that's my back road area.
No, we had a gentleman call that was complaining about speeders and not enough deputies being out there, and
Well,
He knows because he's on his porch from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I don't speed anyway, but
Well, and that was one of those instances where we have, assigned deputies in the area, and we've had deputies there for 2 hours and they're like, we're not seeing any issues. Right. And so, but again, we want to capture the times that would be best utilized for our staff.
Well, you're always welcome to my driveway.
Okay. The next item is a training simulator. It's a use of force and firearms training simulator. Just under $16,000 is our request. So, our deputies have to have so many hours of continued education and training every year to stay certified. And some of those are use of force and firearms training. And this simulator will provide kind of an immersive, risk-free environment for deputies to practice their split-second decision-making, de-escalation tactics, and firearms proficiency. So we've got a chance to kind of demo a handful of these simulators, and it's great for a controlled environment. The college has something similar, but it's very outdated, really outdated. This is a simulator we can deploy not only in our basement, but it comes with a screen and the whole computer software and everything. We can upload and create our own scenarios. And there's other agencies that are around, and you can use them off of body camera footage. But any agency that has this particular training simulator from this company, whatever their use of force scenarios are uploaded, we get the opportunity to use there as well. So when we talk about use of force, we can bring the public in and kind of show them as well as what kind of split-second decisions deputies have to make or law enforcement have to make. We can upload our qualification course for our firearms qualification course. This training simulator comes with simulator as firearms, so handguns, long rifles, and they really have kind of a feedback. So it's not just a point and click and nothing, but it actually has the recoil that's associated with that as well. So you're getting that live recoil. So we have to get back on target, those types of things. And then we can also deploy this simulator in buildings like schools for active shooter training as well. It comes with a few kind of live stands that we can dress up and make as threats. And so when our deputies are entering rooms to clear those rooms, and they have to and then it gives live feedback on having to provide use of force for those as well. And so just in a well needed, I think our use of force and our firearms instructors are excited for this because it'll allow a different type of training as well. And when the inclement weather is bad, and while I'm trying to tell you that we are out, believe me, we go out and we are practicing and shooting in inclement weather up at the range. But sometimes we don't need to do that all the time. If we can have a controlled environment where we can go out and do some of this and then go out to the range also would help. So that's that. Any questions? Okay. Those are really as far as when you're looking at, I think they are needed, but at the end of the day, if you're saying like those are wants between the jammer and those, like you would say, yeah, those are, I do think that they're needed, and it'll help our, our office and our staff. But at the end of the day, but I think when you look going on at the next request, the next page, what is certainly needed and something that you have all supported over the years since I've been sheriff, is our program to replace our rooftop units that we have struggled with. And what I'll tell you is that this is now we're starting to see a benefit to the sheriff's office and to the county by doing this program, by replacing 2 to 3 rooftop units a year. Because if you recall, over the last probably 2 or 3 years, and even prior to me being sheriff, we've had some failures within those, and we've had to move people around, inmates around, and it's been a costly effort. We haven't had that this fiscal year, right, Scott? Because we're getting to the near. We've replaced the units that have been. We need to replace those, and we haven't seen any failures. So we're kind of down to our last bit that we're seeing, and so when we're looking at that, So what we're asking is to relocate one rooftop unit and to replace 2 additional rooftop units. And if I'm not mistaken, are we there, or are we gonna have a couple more?
We'll have a couple more after that. We're down to 5.
We're down to 5. And so the relocate of one rooftop unit, when you're looking at that from estimates that we got, we're actually would save the county money by not having to replace one. There's one that they say, hey, this rooftop unit here is in good shape, but it would benefit being put somewhere else. We don't have to purchase a new one for that area. And so that's what we're looking at doing, and then adding one to that, because it was just how when they got put into place, it wasn't kind of the right fit or whatever. I don't know. I'm not an HVAC guy, but that's what they say. So we're asking for just a little bit over $31,000 to relocate one rooftop unit and to replace 2 additional rooftop units. Again, like I said, we haven't seen where over the years that I've been sheriff, we've had some that have failed because they just didn't make it, and it's an unexpected $20,000 to $30,000 cost on top of our budget that we weren't planning on budgeting for. Again, we haven't seen that this year, and I think it's because of the efforts of replacing those. What you'll notice in there, though, is we only were able to receive one estimate, and that's from, I believe, Lee Heating. And I think the reason of that is because when we started this years ago, we were getting estimates from other local contractors to do this. We went with Lee, and now that they kind of understand the infrastructure of the sheriff's office, they're able to give a decent estimate. And over the years, they have been the lowest estimate, and they've provided a great service. What we found, and it was very difficult to get estimates last year for this because the other contractors were like, we're not going to give you an estimate because you haven't been using us. And so that's kind of the struggle that we had with getting that. So we only received one estimate this year because the other contractors were not willing to provide an estimate because, and so that's why I know you asked for 3 estimates, but we were only able to get one. And then our last request for cap tax is replacing 8 detention and control chairs for just right around $4,800. And that's just a continuation of replacement of outdated chairs. These chairs are being used 24/7, 365 days with our control staff and the controllers within the jail. As you think, they kind of, when you're using them that much, you wouldn't think a chair, but having a chair that's comfortable for our staff to be in. These specific chairs that I have they have reinforced steel frames, high density foam, and heavy duty cylinders and tilt mechanisms. They've come highly recommended from the Sheridan Police Department. That's what their dispatchers are using. So Lieutenant Gibbons has done a great job. He looked around, and so for that chair to find the best value, could we get it locally? We could get that chair locally, but it was very expensive. Looking directly through the manufacturer. Through the manufacturer was the cheapest, right? You also looked at some other online different places but like we can go directly to the manufacturer and get these chairs at the cheapest for just right at $4,800. Any questions? Those are kind of like one of our, I like the list. It was a shorter list of cap requests than we've had in the past, so.
No, like under 60,000.
Yeah.
Any questions? Chair? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so folks, we're back here to start at 9 tomorrow. But we'll actually need to be here for another special meeting at 8:30 for executive session that Clayton needed us to squeeze in tomorrow morning regarding litigation.
Well, Madam Chair, also, I failed to mention during the meeting that I have a funeral to attend on Thursday afternoon. So,
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be scheduled.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to if you need me to come back tomorrow for cap tax stuff, or is that good?
that was super clear,
You're fine.
clear in the narrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh,
You're
yes,
welcome.
sorry. We're officially adjourned at 3:08.
It was all right.
All right.
Sorry.